हाँ जी हाँ जी हाँ जी, वो स्पीकर कोई भी है सबको कर लेंगे। कर लीजिए वो। अच्छा ये 2 फाइल्स आप ले लीजिए फिर। मैं आपको 2 फाइल देता हूँ, आप अपने कंप्यूटर से इनको।
नमस्कार, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Maybe you check your sound, please. No? From maybe you are in mute. It's okay. Can you can?
मैं एक बार बंद करके ज्वाइन करता हूँ, कंप्यूटर नेम चेंज कर देता हूँ, वहाँ पे मेरा पीएसबी आ रहा है तो फिर मैं होस्ट कर देता हूँ उसको, ठीक है ना?
किसको?
मेरा मेरा वाला नेम आ रहा है ना उसमें।
नहीं सुनो।
उसमें मेरा पीएसबी आ रहा है ना, तो वो तो डॉक्टर अग्रवाल विल बी सिटिंग हियर, तो फिर वो कंफ्यूजन सा होगा ना।
कोई दिक्कत नहीं, कंट्रोल करनी चाहिए। जो बात करेंगे तो उनको जो है हम लोग पिन पॉइंट करें। I cannot hear you, Mukhopadhyay sir.
हाँ
वो मेरा तो उनको एक्सेप्ट करना है, मेरी रिक्वेस्ट को देखने के लिए मैं फोन करती हूँ।
हेलो,
राघव साहब आवाज आ रही है?
अब आई।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा,
है ना, मेरा भी तो एक्सेप्ट कर लीजिए।
एक्सेप्ट की जरूरत नहीं है ना।
अब तो
मुखोपाध्याय साहब आपकी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ आ गई आ गई आ गई, मुझे भी आ रही।
बहुत बढ़िया।
मुखोपाध्याय साहब हैं क्या लाइन पर?
जी सर।
अच्छा, वैसे उनका दिख रहा है फोटो वगैरह? कहीं बहुत सारे कुक मिलके सूप को खराब मत कर देना।
मुझे आवाज यहाँ से भी आ रही है और वहाँ से भी आ रही है।
बॉलीवुड फिल्मों में हुआ करता था। रामसे से brothers।
Too many cooks spoil the too many cooks अच्छा बोला तो कर क्या रहे हैं क्या सब ठीक ठाक है। अच्छा ऑडियो कर दिया मैंने।
पुराना मंदिर
नहीं बंगला नहीं
डाक बंगला
ये इको क्यों है? अरे वो भी आ गए। अग्रवाल साहब आ गए, डॉक्टर अग्रवाल।
नहीं हमें इको हो रही है क्योंकि आपकी आवाज यहाँ है और
वहीं से है वो
वहीं से यहाँ से
यहाँ आपस में थोड़ी आ रही है, वहाँ से आ रही है।
उल्टा है।
पिक्चर उल्टी आ रही है। नमस्कार रायकर जी, कैसे हैं आप? मैं बस जरा देखना चाहूंगा कि क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर में कैसे सुमित जी आपकी आवाज मतलब सॉरी
मिश्रा जी वो एक बार अपना स्पीकर ऑन करके देखिए, इसमें से आपको आवाज आ रहा है क्या? हेलो हेलो हेलो। तो सीजी को क्यों नहीं आ रहा? सर आपको आवाज आ रहा है?
लेकिन आपकी आवाज मुझे नहीं आ रही। सर की आवाज मुझे नहीं आ रही।
सीजी का वो बंद है। सीजी का माइक इज नॉट
सर ये नीचे
ये बंद कर दीजिए।
जी हाँ, तो जो क्वेश्चंस होंगे वो चैट में आएंगे।
सर चैट में आएंगे या कोई अपना वो ऑन करके वो पूछेगा। नॉर्मली वो हैंड आता है तो
हाँ जी, ठीक है।
तो भी
पार्टिसिपेंट्स संचार में
आपका आवाज आ रही है? थोड़ा सा बात करने का
शेयर स्क्रीन रिकॉर्ड।
सीजी का माइक ओपन है। सर आप कुछ बोलेंगे?
नहीं मैं तो बंद कर दिया, अपना माइक बंद कर दिया।
अच्छा ठीक है।
ठीक है, लेकिन बढ़िया सुनाई पड़ रहा है।
तो चलिए।
अब आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ
सर की सर से बात करें।
सर शादिया जी एक बार डॉक्टर अग्रवाल से आप कन्वर्सेशन करेंगे, आपको क्लियर आ रहा है?
मैं अपना ऑफ कर रहा हूँ।
नमस्कार डॉक्टर विल्बर्स, वेरी प्लीज्ड टू मीट यू।
I'm pleased to meet you too.
So I'm eager to hear what you have to say in your introduction, and I'm looking forward to it.
So do I have to introduce myself or are you going to introduce me?
I'll say a few words if you don't mind. What I will do is I will introduce each of the speakers. So I will have a very brief introduction.
Okay.
And then I will briefly introduce each of the speakers. So I will basically summarize what you have sent in as your introduction.
Okay.
I will make it a little shorter just to save time.
Okay. And I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk. So I have about 5 minutes, I think.
Yes, ma'am. If you could reduce it to 4 minutes, I would be grateful.
Yes.
As I had
I'm perfectly
mentioned,
fine with that.
I will be somewhat strict with the timekeeping. So
Yes, you said that, and I completely agree. You should, because webinars are also time consuming, and it's good to stay in time.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm going to talk about the EU-India relations, and then let's say the Indo-German relations, and then what it has been till now,
and what it could be for the health sector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk briefly about this latest EU-India summit that happened on the 15th of July. I'm going to talk about the things that were discussed, the things that were not discussed, and then I would sort of take all of that and say what it now means for the health sector and why there were some decisions taken, but some others weren't, and what it all means. So I will not be talking directly about what India and Europe or India and Germany have been doing together in terms of health.
Okay, ma'am, I think I'm quite fine with that. Amol, good afternoon. What a pleasure to see you. Can you say something, please, so that we hear your voice as well?
Yes. So he knows. Yeah.
Amol, can you say something, please?
He's talking to somebody else now.
Amol, could it be that you're not muted?
Speak, so we have to do.
I just tried. तो आप तो ऐसा करेंगे कि जो भी कर रहा होगा उसको आप you will put him these that's अच्छा वो आप करेंगे
India Day.
India Days. Rajesh was saying that we should do it in February, and then we agreed that February will be people in July.
सही बात है तो जब भी आप बोलेंगे अपना म्यूट कर देना हाँ जी मैंने म्यूट कर दिया स्पीकर म्यूट करना पड़ेगा तो वो आपको मुझे बताना पड़ेगा कैसे करना
एक मिनट रुकिए अभी जी मैं एक बार सुन लीजिए So now you can hear me from here.
You can cancel them if
It is
there is third, fourth, fifth wave of corona.
You can use this.
Yeah,
Oh,
सिस्टम म्यूट कर
नीचे जो चाय पानी होगा वो
सिस्टम आएगा मेरा 2 थिंग्स
हाँ ठीक है
ऐसे कर सकते
हाँ
हैं
जी
यहाँ से कर सकते हैं जो भी इजी रहे ठीक है
हाँ नहीं अगर यहाँ से
अभी आवाज आ रही है अभी ठीक है कैन यू हियर स्पीकर्स कैन यू हियर नमस्कार त्रिपाठी साहब डॉक्टर त्रिपाठी कैन यू हियर अस आवाज नहीं आ रही
सर नमस्कार
हाँ जी आवाज आ रही है
नमस्कार डॉक्टर त्रिपाठी
सर नमस्कार
तो सीजी का
we can't hear you yet
अब नीचे जा रहे फिर लेट हो रहे हैं वो चाय कोई नहीं ज्यादा बना दो फिर वो दिखते हैं उनके लिए बना दो उनको दे देना
हाँ हेलो
हाँ
हेलो अमर
so good
बनाने का कौन बता जब सीमा को बना था सर नहीं
is that Ashish next say my
अमर को बात है
मैं तो सर ये कहता हूँ
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Chinese time constraint.
तो जो नए कंसुल आएंगे वो ब्रेमन भी आएंगे
जी ये बताइए कि
Hello?
अच्छा oh these are all
Hello? Paminderji? Hello?
yes Omol we can hear you
Oh, very good.
क्यों नहीं आएंगे?
Then it's fine.
ज्यादा बना दो जितने लोग इतने
Omol is that Kashi
ज्यादा लोग नहीं हैं। पाँच सात का है थोड़ा ज्यादा करें टुकड़ा कर लें
नमस्कार कैसे हैं
हमने आपको क्या बोलते हैं ऑनलाइन नमस्कार कर लिया था
जी हाँ पहली बार अब ठीक है आइए और सब अच्छी तरह से
नेक्स्ट वाली है ना वहां से
कमरे को इससे खोल के जो लैपटॉप मुझे कंप्यूटर है उसके ऊपर जो प्रोग्राम लगा होता है ना रखने का तो वो मैं पढ़ने के लिए उसको ना उस पर रखूँगा ठीक तो वो ले पुराने वाले को निकाला ना या जैसे ले जैसे है उसके बाद
Hello. So,
Hello?
can you enlarge that photo? You check it. अच्छा मैंने आपको वो देना था ना डॉक्टर डूबेल एंड
Hello, Stefan Dübel from Braunschweig for a sound check. Can you hear me?
yes Herr Dübel we can hear you welcome
Thank you.
welcome to the event
I will switch off my video because the connection is very slow from my office. So I will just leave on the audio, but I will be there. I will just switch off the video, just for your information.
okay thank you but when you are speaking Herr Dübel then I would request you to turn on the video as well
I can try that if my video connection will do that. And somebody has to mute his microphone because we have a strong feedback on my end.
we turn this off, because otherwise there will be.
First, now you can actually come this end, and
Yes.
once CG switches on, then
Okay.
come.
सामने से ये भी कुछ है, वो तो उसमें खाली खाली हो।
ठीक है।
We need to start now.
And Raigarji will be.
He will be sitting here. Then बाद में after his speech, then you can come here.
Yes, I will get up. Then he will be speaking here. Right.
नहीं, he will be speaking here.
Okay. ठीक है, अपनी चीजें ही रखते हैं।
नहीं, वो आपके स्पीच के बाद
Is it live?
Hello, good evening, Dr. Jadhav here.
वो वाला कौन सा कंप्यूटर है? वो वाला कौन सा कंप्यूटर है? Yes,
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Bhuvnesh Agrawal. I'm President and CEO of Sysmex Diagnostics, a liquid biopsy company here in Hamburg. It's my privilege to moderate today's symposium. The COVID crisis has had a significant effect on our lives. It has also, however, created opportunities and learnings. From single country or local approaches, we are now understanding the usefulness of global learnings, global experience, and how we have to act as one world. The concepts of universal healthcare have taken up a new importance. And in the light of these developments, such a cross-border, cross-continental seminar can provide unique insights. For example, Germany, through its comprehensive and very thorough healthcare system, India with the speed and the pragmatism of its spirit, cooperation, collaboration, and learning from each other's strengths can lead to benefits for us all. So I'm really delighted that today we will speak about the India-Germany collaboration in the healthcare sector during and post-COVID-19. I'd like to start by expressing my gratitude to all of the people who have been involved in organizing this event. And I'd specifically like to mention our sponsors, the Consulate General of India, in whose space we are sitting here right now, FICCI, the Hochschule Bremen, the Elga Biotech, and we'll be speaking later. And finally, the Global India Network community, represented here by Dr. Rajesh Mishra. It is my pleasure to start the program by introducing our host, the Consulate General of India in Hamburg, Mr. Madan Lal Raigar. Mr. Raigar is a career diplomat, and I'm honored to say a friend. And when we speak about such a global event, he's one of those people who really incorporates that as well. In the true sense of the word, he's a world citizen, and he has joined the Ministry of External Affairs in '89, and since then he has been taking up increasing responsibilities in all parts of the world. Asia, for example, Sri Lanka, Middle East, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Africa, Sudan, Madagascar, the Americas, Canada, and now here in Europe, in Germany. So, Mr. Raigar, I'd like to ask you to give your opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuvnesh Agrawal, for the event introduction. You have summed up the upcoming program and the speakers as well. And namaskar and very good afternoon to the learned keynote speakers of today, whose introduction will be given by Dr. Agrawal soon. The viewers who have joined us for this webinar from across the globe. I also welcome Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay from Elga Biotech, Germany, Ms. Pallavi Mishra from Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry FICCI chapter in Germany, Dr. Sadia Wilbers from University of Applied Sciences, Bremen, Dr. Rajesh Mishra from Global Indian Network Communication Co, Germany, and Dr. Mayank Golpelwar for being the partner for this webinar. As you all know, COVID-19 has gone on far too long and much more than we had all imagined. In spite of all the efforts and progress being made around the world to combat this modern day enigma, a definitive cure for the disease remains elusive. Yet, the disease is ushering in as a new normal. And as we are in third week of August now, it continues to hasten change in a manner that has no previous parallel. It remains unpredictable, and as we embrace the changing paradigm, it is equally possible that a new one may evolve with its fresh set of challenges and opportunities. Suffice it to say that those individuals, societies, and organizations who maintain an open outlook and move with the winds of change are the ones most likely to succeed. While much of Asia is reimposing lockdowns and other curbs on movement, India continues to ease restrictions despite a relentless rise in infections. As of today, India has a total of 2.77 million cases, whereas Germany has 228,105. More than 22.3 million people have been reported to be infected by the novel coronavirus globally, and 784,825 people have died. All of this goes to show that the scourge of the virus remains strong and the urgency for a cure becomes more acute. In this milieu, demand for medication, alternate therapies, and repurposed drugs continues to sustain and swell as doctors and countries try out every trick in the book to overcome the virus with varying degrees of success. Since economies around the world have been stressed, its impact on people, particularly those in the developing world, has been devastating. Not only is it important to find a cure, a vaccine, but also look for cheaper and easily available alternatives to tide over the existing exigencies of the situation. Because of the enormity of the situation, rising global demand, raw material disruptions, and the fact that regular capacities of individual drugs cannot be ramped up overnight by pharmaceutical companies, several COVID-19 remedies are being tried with varying degrees of effectiveness in early and late stage condition. At the same time, experimental drugs with early demonstrated efficacy against COVID-19 and other therapies are being constantly evaluated and are being granted speedy conditional approvals by regulators around the world for treating the pandemic. Health sector has never been so in limelight as we see today during this pandemic of COVID-19. Our well-informed and expert keynote speakers will deliberate more on this. However, it is my duty to provide a little synopsis of the opportunities for collaboration in the health sector between Germany and India. With more than 1.3 billion population and the government's stress to provide a better medical care for its populace, Indian healthcare sector is one of the fastest growing markets, whereas Germany is one of the largest pharma market in the world. There is tremendous potential for cooperation between India and Germany in the healthcare and biotechnology sectors. 3 main agreements were signed between the health ministries of Germany and India after the delegation level talks between the Indian Prime Minister and the German Chancellor in May 2017. The agreements focused on cooperation between India and Germany in the areas of biotechnology, healthcare, pharma, and information technology. These agreements provide a platform to develop collaborative work for finding healthcare solutions to the existing problems. The sole aim is to develop comprehensive protection for innovation to ease and streamline trade between Indian healthcare customers and German healthcare companies. It also benefits Indian businesses to understand the necessity of innovations in this field. Furthermore, the Government of India has allowed 100% FDI in healthcare through any form of investment. Market experts believe that Indian healthcare sector will grow substantially and achieve its long-term healthcare targets over the next decade. Leaders both in India and Germany agree that the cooperation between India and Germany in healthcare, pharma, and biotechnology will be mutually beneficial for both the countries. Now it is the time for policymakers and investors to take the cooperation to the next level. We all know that Germany is well established in pharma, biotechnology, and health sector, and India needs both technology and investment to move up the ladder. Thus, India offers an excellent opportunity for German companies and institutions. With this, I conclude my opening remarks, and we all look forward to listen to the experts, keynote speakers, and a great deliberations ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Agarwal Sahab, once again for moderating the event so nicely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for these opening remarks and really setting the stage for this event. It's my pleasure next to introduce Dr. Shazia Aziz Gulbaz, who is the head of the India Studies at the Hochschule of Bremen, who is also one of the co-sponsors of this
Great deliberations ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Agarwal Sahab, once again for moderating the event tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In secretariat,
The voices are not clear. Sir.
Many articles about the EU, India, and I apologize. I just realized that I had not unmuted myself. Once again, we are looking forward to Dr. Shazia Gulbaz, who is the head of the India Study Center.
There is some echo sound, sir. There is some echo sound. Voices are not clear.
One person should run.
I apologize. I just realized that I had not unmuted myself.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the people in Germany, and good evening to all the people in India. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the EU-India relations and let's say the Indian-German relations and the kind of potential that exists in terms of the health sector. A long time ago, well, let's say 2012, not 8 years ago, I used to talk about the paradox of the EU-India relations, and I used to talk about the missed opportunities in terms of economics, politics, culture, and development cooperation. In 2020, I probably will not say that anymore, because in 2020, the world view is completely different from what it was in 2012. In 2020, Trump is the president of United States, and in 2020 we have a more aggressive China, and in 2020 we haven't had a free trade agreement talk between India and Europe for the past 7 years. So in 2012 the talks had not stopped. Obama was still the president of the US, and China was a little bit aggressive, but the way it is right now, it wasn't the case. So this time around, when the EU-India summit happened on the 15th of July, there were three big, let's say, themes that you could talk about. One was the big theme of trade. What will happen to trade? Because the trade talks had stalled since 2012. This FTA talks. And then the other elephant in the room was, so let's say there were three elephants in the room. So the second elephant in the room was China, because in the past, let's say 2 years, there has been a more and more aggressive China. And the third elephant was the human rights issue, because the EU always wants to bring in the human rights issues on the table, but they're not doing that with China. And So let's say these were the three most important things. And when the talks happened, the best thing was that they addressed all the three issues, the three big issues: the China issue, the trade issue, and the human rights issue. And the biggest achievement of this EU-India summit was that the talks of the free trade agreement that had stalled in 2012, in 2013, will be restarted. So they agreed to start the high-level ministerial talks in terms of trade between EU and India. The talks that had stopped 7 years ago. And when we talk about the health sector, I mean, when you have an FTA, a free trade agreement, where you don't involve the health sector, it would be a bit strange now, yeah, especially in the COVID crisis, or let's say the post-COVID crisis. So one of the most important thing that was discussed, which hadn't been discussed before, was all the things that they could do, the EU and the Indians, in terms of health. So the health sector was always, you could always see the mention of health in all the documents starting from the first EU-India summit in 2005. So every time health was mentioned, but this time health had a special meaning to it, because we are suffering a health crisis. So they spoke about, let's say in the final agreement that they signed, they spoke about how when there is a vaccine, it should be affordable to all. Yeah, this has, for example, been one of the important things, because India and the European Union have not been able to agree on the intellectual property rights. And I'm getting the signal that I should shorten it. Well, basically to say that health, which had been, let's say, 5% of the talks before, suddenly became, let's say, 50 to 60% of the talk. So the COVID crisis put health on the agenda. The kind of potential that exists between India and Europe, and Germany and Europe, in terms of health, collaboration in terms of making of vaccines, collaboration in terms of pharmaceutical companies, collaborations in terms of insurance, yeah, how Germany goes about dealing with its insurance. These are all questions that were addressed in the EU-India summit this time, and they have made a roadmap. So that's something that EU and India do very well. They make roadmaps. So a roadmap exists now, which didn't exist before. That's all I could say now about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bilbas, for your remarks. I'm sorry we are a little behind already. I'll ask Dr. Rajesh Mishra, who is the Vice President of the Global India Network Community in Bremen, to give his opening remarks. He is a PhD in wellness, and he has a PhD in yoga. He has actually co-founded the Global Indian Network Community, but he's also the president of Shaktiya, which is a charitable organization. He has won a number of awards. I just want to mention one on health education and development, which was given by the government of Nagaland, the United Nations Organization, and the Open University. Dr. Mishra.
Thank you, sir. Dear Mr. Madanlal Laikar, sir, CGI Hamburg, Dr. Mukhopadhyay, Dr. Agarwal, Mrs. Pallavi Mishra ji, Dr. Sajia Bulwers, speakers, and all participants. I welcome you all on behalf of organizing committee, as today we have many experts speakers to speak about the topic. So I would like to say a few words about the organization. Global Indian Network Community is dedicated to promote Indian-German businesses in Germany. Appreciation, promotion, quality, and connectivity is our belief. We actively work with CGI Hamburg, India Study Center, FICCI, India IBF, Hamburg, and other business community. We organize several events Our view is individual, team, project, or product organization are four important wheels of the business. And if we really want to promote Indian-German business in Germany or India, then we should appreciate every wheel as an individual or collectively. With this concept, very soon we will announce German Indian Business Award for our business community in Germany. We need your support, suggestions, and guidance. We hope that today's events will be productive as we wish it to be bringing great opportunity for health sector and business community. Thanks. Again, welcome all of you in this event. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Pallavi Mishra, who is the country head Germany of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Ms. Pallavi holds an MBA degree in International Business from the European Business School. And she has now been in Berlin since 1.5 years. Before that, she was working with FICCI for a long time in high-profile events, such as the CEO Forum. Having myself been a member of FICCI for many years, I'm really delighted to have her with us, and I'm eager to hear her thoughts on the scope of Indo-German collaboration in the area of digital healthcare and medical technology. Ms. Mishra.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agarwal. Am I audible? Okay. Let me first.
Yes, you are.
Okay, that's thank you. Let me share my screen first. I have a small presentation for you all. Is it visible? Yes. So, Your Excellency Shri Raigar ji, Vice Consul Shri Dhingra ji, Rajesh ji, Shazia ji, and other eminent speakers. Dear participants, a very good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to speak to you today at this virtual exchange and represent India's Apex Industry Association, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI. Thank you, CGI Hamburg, for providing us this opportunity. I would like to begin by saying that we are currently witnessing a major transformation in healthcare, a truly promising time where we have concurrent path-breaking developments in genetics, robotics, and telecommunication infrastructure. And most importantly, our ability to put to use the vast amount of data through artificial intelligence to make use of it, to make sense of it, and ultimately solve health-related problems with it. There always has been a need to move towards a value-based approach to healthcare with the help of technological innovation. COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted this critical need for change. And ironically, it is this pandemic that is creating a demand for technologically enabled healthcare, not just in cities, but also in far-flung areas across the globe. It is now important for healthcare providers to sustain this momentum. It is time to think innovatively and quickly. With the technological healthcare solutions, we can make radical shifts in preventive healthcare and not just in curative care. Before I get into the details of today's theme, let me just share a few words about FICCI. We were established in 1927 on the recommendation of Father of the Nation, Mahatma Gandhi. We represent in India's policy, India's industry and business. And we have over 250,000 members across India. And these members are represented with the help of sector-specific verticals. We have over 75 such verticals. Our network, we have a wide network in India. We have over 14 offices in India and have headquarters in New Delhi. And we have a good representations globally, having 9 offices internationally. It gives us a wider global business outreach. I would also like to highlight few key initiatives of FICCI during COVID-19. We have come out with a guide for organizations to help better prepare workplaces for prevention of infection, as well as enhancing their productivity. FICCI has also come out with a study on, together with EY on the economic impact of COVID-19 on hospitals and labs. Along with all these initiatives that are mentioned here, I would also like to highlight that we have also contributed towards the marginalized section of the society with the help of FICCI Socio-Economic and Development Foundation. Now let me talk about the healthcare sector. Healthcare, as mentioned by Shri Raigar ji, healthcare is one of the largest and fastest growing services sectors in India. It is the 4th largest employment generator in India. Growing at the compound annual growth rate of 16%, this sector is expected to reach 372 billion US dollar by the year 2022. Hospital industry is also expected to grow at 16 to 17%, and we expect it to reach 132.84 billion US dollar by the year 2022. We have about 43,487 private sector hospitals to cater more than 60% in patient care, and the rest are taken care by 25,778 public sector hospitals. There have been several initiatives of Government of India in recent past. I would like to highlight one such initiative, which is Ayushman Bharat, which aims at providing a health cover of rupees 5 lakhs for secondary and tertiary care to over 500 million poor and vulnerable section of the society. Some of you might know that before COVID, India was experiencing 22 to 25% growth in medical tourism and had become a leading destination for high-end treatment services. Now let's look at medical technology in India. Indian medical technology industry is about 6 billion US dollar in size. This covers mainly the segment of instruments and appliances, diagnostic imaging, consumable, implants, patient aids, and other. This industry is expected to grow at around 10% every year, owing to our growing population and standard of living in India. Germany. Germany, of course, Europe's biggest healthcare market. In 2018, Germany's annual healthcare expenditure was close to 390 billion euros. Almost all the Germans are covered by health insurance, of which 88% in public health insurance plan. Germany has had a long history of being at the forefront of innovations in medical technology. In 2017, the revenue generated by this industry was close to 30 billion euros. There are around 1,400 companies active in this sector in Germany, and these companies are mainly Mittelstand, the so-called backbone of German economy. The cluster of such companies are mainly focused around Hamburg, Berlin, Düsseldorf, and the state of Baden and Württemberg. When we talk about the scope of collaboration between India and Germany, I truly believe that there is immense scope in this sector. Germany is already the second largest exporters of medtech to India. India is a leader in terms of providing skilled workforce for Germany's medtech industries, manufacturing, R&D, and digitization needs. India also has some valuable lessons to share with regards to using frugal but effective innovations that can deliver quality healthcare at an affordable cost and at a wider scale. While India has a market and a growing demand for medical technology products, it has a vast improving digital infrastructure. Germany's medtech exports and innovative healthcare delivery solutions to India has potential to grow exponentially. Though India has a fragmented but growing medtech industry, it will undoubtedly benefit from innovation, collaboration, and technology transfers between the two economies. I'm sure we have an impressive lineup of experts to speak later on, and they will suggest some innovative ways in which both the countries can collaborate. I would just like to put a few ideas on the table for Indian and German companies to collaborate. There are various ways. One of such ways could be German manufacturers can export their equipment to India. They can also manufacture in India, and not only for Indian market, but they can also use India as a hub for foreign markets. Indian manufacturers can collaborate with German companies and upgrade their technology. One of such ways could be hospital chains in India can collaborate directly with German manufacturers to create customized solutions. I'm sure most of you would have heard of Make in India Mittelstand, an initiative of the Government of India, run by Embassy of India in Berlin. Please make use of this platform to get information related to investment in India. You can also write to FICCI Germany, and I'll be happy to assist. Before I close, I would just like to highlight the most recent push towards improving health access in India has just been announced by our Prime Minister on India's, on last Saturday on the occasion of our 74th Independence Day. It is called National Digital Health Mission. This initiative seeks to provide an efficient and affordable health coverage through a wide range of data and infrastructure services. It will integrate various digital health services to create an ecosystem which can assimilate existing health information systems. Government will certainly ensure security and privacy of personal information. All this signals towards India's readiness to take the next step forward towards digitizing healthcare and medical technology sector in India. And who could be a better partner in this for India than Germany? I look forward to hearing from other industry experts on how they see collaboration between the two countries growing in future. I'm happy to answer if you have any questions now, or you can also write to me at my email ID, pallavi.mishra@ficci.com. You can also visit our website, www.ficci.in. And in case I'm not able to answer your question, please be assured that I'll connect you with our sector expert in New Delhi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mishra. I apologize because of the time. We will not be able to take any questions for the time being, but if we have some at the end or something like that, I will be more than happy to forward them to you. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure now to announce the next speaker, Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay. He has been active for over 30 years as a scientist, as an entrepreneur in the area of healthcare, pharmaceuticals, biology, and biotechnology. He has been heavily responsible for directing innovative research and development work in promoting business development and in corporate leadership. He co-founded AG Lab in Hamburg, which dealt with age-related diseases, for which, of course, I'm extremely grateful now at my age. But also, he's the founder of Elgo Biotech. Beyond that, however, I have to say he's also a very close friend. He is one of the organizers of this meeting, and it is to him that I have to thank that we got it going. And also, he is the founder of the Hanseatic India Forum, where a lot of scientific work, but also fantastic social work is done in the Sundarbans, including providing healthcare, but also creating a bakery and other things. Amol, it's my privilege to request you to give your presentation on the biopharmaceutical supply in post-COVID-19 scenario, technology support from India. So, Amol, we cannot yet hear you, but we see your presentation. Amol, I'm sorry, we can still not hear you. Could you kindly check your microphone? And my sincere apologies, the time is being deducted from your account. Sorry about that. I would suggest that we go to the next speaker till we have taken care of this technological problem, and we will revert to you, Amol, later in the afternoon.
Starting my presentation.
Okay, now we can hear you. Yes, please go ahead. Hello? Oh, okay. So in that case, I sincerely apologize for the technical problems that we are experiencing. I would like to announce the next speaker, Dr. Alexander Nuikin from Ernst & Young Life Sciences, EMEA from Eschborn in Germany. He's a partner and he leads the life sciences transaction advisory in Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa, and is an MTech partner. Dr. Nuikin is a doctor in law from the University of Salzburg, but he also has a business degree from the renowned INSEAD school. I will request him to give a perspective on the pharmaceutical industry pre and post-COVID.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good. So thank you very much for the friendly introduction, and good afternoon to all attendees of this conference. I'm delighted to share with you some of our perspectives on the life science industry pre and post-COVID, and in particular share a perspective on our expectations, how the way forward might look like. My presentation has two parts. One is basically an assessment, and forgive us the data dump I'm giving on you. We are a data-driven firm, so this is part of what we do. We have analyzed quite deeply the recent developments in the industry, and I would like to share some of the insights from that. And second, I would like to share the perspective of how COVID will impact the way going forward, in particular also with an aspect of how India and Indian-German trade will develop. So as a first step, if the slides are moving here.
Yes, we can see your slide.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. So now, first statement is we see in the life science industry significant growth. We have seen it over the past years. And interestingly, also despite COVID and some negative implications, so a lot of elective medical treatments have been postponed or delayed or have not happened. There is still growth coming out of the, in particular in the pharmaceutical space, out of the industry. So versus all other industries that are heavily affected and see double-digit declines, the pharmaceutical industry is growing. And from discussions that I had with representatives of various companies, they have even seen very strong first quarters, given that there was a lot of stocking effects coming to build up stocks for the potential event that supply chains break down. So there is a lot of resilience. We will see some balancing of that, but going forward there is a fundamentally healthy and strong industry. Nothing has changed. Demographics, chronic diseases and prevalences, policy focus on healthcare and increased government spending in that direction will all foster the future development in that industry. If we move then to the next page and look a little bit more into details as to who are the drivers of this revenue evolution, you see, and if you look at in particular the German-Indian perspective, you see that the German players like Bayer, Boehringer, or Merck are not really the prominent players in the field. And if you compare that with the top three Indian players, there is a different level in terms of revenues. You see that is somewhere between 2 and 3 billion if you look at the big players. And there is a reason to it. So if we go one level deeper and look at where this is coming from, number one, the statement or the assessment, as you see in the top line numbers, is that India is growing much faster than other regions, in particular as the German pharma market. Where does the growth come from? There is a big element of raw material supply, API supply, that is going to continue, and I will come to that when we look at the post-COVID world out of that. So this the analysis or the research report where the number is coming from is a pre-COVID research report. There is no updated numbers on that. So there might be some correction, but my perspective, and I will share that later, is that there is not a huge correction downwards. The growth driver here clearly, I mean, the split of the volume and value is very different. So India is very much a generics market, 70% generics, 21% OTC, and 9% basically patented drugs. You see volume-wise a similar share in the German market, but value-wise there is much more share of patented products, obviously. So this is one of the drivers why the landscape in terms of sizes of the companies and also the direction of R&D money spent looks very different. And we can look into that in a little bit more detail. So we see equally as the top line is growing, a big investment in R&D over the past years. If you compare that with the Indian top 3 players, for example, you see that the R&D spend is on a much lower base, and that comes back to what I said before. It's primarily a generics market, so development R&D costs are much lower for that. Where is basically the pharma R&D growth coming from? This very different company by company. And if you look at the red highlighted companies, there is a very differentiated picture across the landscape. When you look at the profitability of the industry, also growing, similar to the revenue levels. If you look at the profitability of the German players versus the Indian top players, you don't see so much difference. So that's a little bit surprising, given that you would expect that patented products are asking for higher margins. The overall margin or overall performance of the companies doesn't look so much different, despite that you have seen a lot of differentiation. So Boehringer stepped out of the generics business. Bayer doesn't do generics anymore. They have a few branded and patent expired products, but clearly it's not a generics play. So that's kind of a surprising finding when you compare that to the top line and the overall performance. And if you look at the landscape of where does the revenue primarily come from, it's still a blockbuster world. Despite what we see in terms of rare diseases, etc., there is still a blockbuster focus. And the German players, neither the Indian players are really the big players in that field. And if you look at the major indications, oncology is still the dominating factor when it comes to current revenues, but also when it comes to clinical trials and spent in R&D. With that, I want to go to the second part of my presentation. So how does COVID change the picture, and what do we see in current developments? Number one, I want to share with you 3 pillars of the current war against COVID. One is the vaccines universe. You see there is a lot of vaccines being developed at the moment. We see globally 161 vaccine candidates that are monitored. Some more promising, some less promising. There's one approved in Russia, as you know, but that is, in my view, not the route to go. And there is high ethical concerns around how this approval came in place. However, my perspective here is that we cannot expect a reasonable amount of vaccines available by the end of the year, and not only because there is at the moment no approved vaccine, but also because of constraints in supply chain, etc., and also in the practical question of how to get this to millions of patients at a reasonable time. So there is some concerns around that. The second pillar is the drug candidates. What do you see here? There are 358 drug candidates that are currently being in processes of getting approved for COVID treatment. One, remdesivir, has an emergency approval in the US and in some other regions of the world. Gilead has to provide additional clinical data in order to get a final approval for that product. But there is a number of other products that seem to be, or at least the players are trying to repurpose those. The question is how much of that R&D money is actually getting written off ultimately, because I don't think a lot of those 358 products will see the light of the world in terms of COVID treatment. The same with the vaccines, by the way. So there's a huge hype around it, but there's a lot of lost money at the end of the corridor. And then the third pillar is the testing universe. We have currently 668 tests in the market and almost 100 additional tests in development. There's a huge forest of different tests with different degrees of meaningfulness and relevance, and it's very hard to see through what is actually a test that is really useful and changing the picture. And there's currently a lot of struggle in order to get testing spread widely and in the world. So this is the current state of what's going on in the COVID space. But if you look from one step further, and that's my last slide, and probably the one that kind of builds the bracket to the topic that is being discussed today, Indian-German development. We have been moving out of the first phase of taking care of employees, etc., and making sure the industry is surviving. And as I said before, the life science industry, the pharmaceutical industry is certainly not as challenged as other industries. So we are moving into the question of how to set up for the future. And one of the statements that you hear very often is that there will be basically a reshoring of production. There's the requirement to more supply chain safety and security, and that may have a negative impact on, in particular, India, for example, as a major API supplier to the world. I don't think that is going to be the case, and I have had a few discussions with government officials and others. If they are really willing to pay 20–30% more for drugs if they basically reshore the production to Germany, for example. So if you rebuild basically a German manufacturing industry and bring back the supply of APIs to Germany, that's not feasible. There is no willingness to pay additional 30% on the current drug prices. So I don't think this is going to change. India is going to be and remain basically the manufacturer for raw materials and for ingredients for drugs going forward, and I think that's going to expand. What we will see is that safety buffers are being increased, more stocking is going to happen, which is certainly the middle way between reshoring and the continued globalization of the industry. And what we also see is that there is a more kind of refocus on values. There is a more sustainability-based approach, and this is going to impact how we do business together. This is going to impact how companies need to be set up to be from all aspects, social, environmental factors, etc., sustainably set up and ready for the future. And I think that's going to be the big discussion after COVID. COVID, in my view, and is still ongoing and still a severe crisis, but it's going to be just an episode at some point in time in the further development of the pharmaceutical industry, with so much unmet medical need and so many areas to address from very severe diseases, so that I'm less concerned about the state of the industry. I'm very positive about the outlook for the German-Indian trade. And with that, I would hand over back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuiken, for this really very exciting data, and also not only what you said in between, but also the positive close that you gave, that you are so positive about this. I'm just looking, because we are 3 minutes behind plan, I will apologize that I would try once again to get Dr. Mukhopadhyay. There is one question that has come up, and that is, if somebody's interested in your presentation, would it be possible to get it?
Yeah, it would be great if you sent me the email and I can forward that then to that guest.
Okay, So if there are any questions, please send it to PBS and PSB, and I will forward the request to Dr. Nuiken. So Dr. Nuiken, thank you very, very much. We will now try to see whether the technical problems with Dr. Mukhopadhyay have been worked out. So Amol, could you kindly try again? Can we put up the presentation, please? Amol, can you please speak? Okay, I think we are still having some technical issues. Amol, what we will try to do is we'll try to come back in the end. Now it is my privilege to present the next speaker, Dr. Bhupendra Kumar Rana, who is the founding CEO of the Quality and Accreditation Institute at Noida in India. Dr. Rana is really one of the foremost authorities on the area of quality worldwide. He's a board member of the International Society of Quality in Healthcare. He's elected founding member of the International Academy of Quality and Safety. He's on various, he's a consultant to WHO, World Bank, Asian Development Bank. He's chief advisor to the Academy of Medical Labs Advisors. He was a member of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. I think I would fill out 15 minutes just by speaking about his achievements. He's actually a BA, he's from the BHU, and he did his master's from the Govind Ballabh Pant University of Agriculture and Technology in Pantnagar. Dr. Rana will speak about the COVID-19 pandemic, opportunities to collaborate in the field of healthcare quality and safety. Dr. Rana, please.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuvnesh, for your kind introduction about me, and it's a great pleasure to be listening to you and seeing you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency Shri Madan Lal Raigar, Consul General CGI Hamburg, Honorable Shri Gulshan Dhingraji, Vice Consul CGI Hamburg, Dr. Rajesh, Dr. Sajia, my fellow speakers, and ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for having me here today in this very important event on opportunities to collaborate between India and Germany. So I'm going to talk about COVID-19 pandemic. What are the opportunities we have to collaborate in the field of quality? As I think in my perception, the quality and safety is actually a very dry subject, but it's very important and very, very critical to save the life of patients and taking care of the staff working in different healthcare facilities. As all of know, that pandemic COVID-19 has been everywhere, and no one has been spared. It is touching about 22 million cases, about 784,000 deaths, 15 million recovered. That's a good thing. India 27, 68, 670 cases, and Germany in 19th places, which is almost 1/10 of India positive cases. But as you look at the population size, it makes a lot of difference. So who is not affected from SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus, which is responsible for COVID-19 disease, directly, indirectly? And I think you all would agree that no one, everyone is affected with this COVID-19 disease. So a little bit of global scenario about COVID-19 pandemic. As it started in early February in some countries, in March, different countries started facing different problems, including short of personal protective equipment, and even they are available, they are of questionable quality, short of ventilators, infrared thermometers, and hand hygiene products, as because we all talking about cleaning our hands every now and then. Staff contracting infections, whether it's doctor or nurse or paramedic, they started getting infections because COVID-19 disease is really highly contagious. Healthcare system not supporting infection containment at mass scale. So it was not just institutionalized, but on in a system level, short of skilled healthcare staff to deal with crisis, and minimum testing infrastructures for both patient samples for
detecting COVID-19, as well as the PPE. So in terms of service delivery in healthcare sector, is one say delivery of services, efficient delivery of services. It makes a lot of difference when it comes to patients, it's come to staff who is using these things, the patient who is taking these services, and community by and large who is supporting and become a part of this service delivery component. So if you look at the healthcare system level, there were a lot of questions around whether we have adequate number of healthcare facilities. If this yes, then do we have adequate numbers of requirements related to resources or equipment or infrastructure? Then do we have a proper networking at system level? Do we collaborate with each other? Do we participate in a networking scenario where whether it's government or a private healthcare facility, they come together and make use of the facilities which are available with each of them? Are we able to properly manage them? Because management itself of all those facilities which are equipped to deal with COVID-19 disease are very, very important. So a lot of challenges around, not about India or Germany, it's about everywhere around the globe. So coming down to the healthcare facility level, we talk about different components. When we talk about service delivery, we talk about structures, and the structures are related to human resources, the equipment, and the environmental conditions. So are we having those structures in place when we talk about COVID-19 crisis? Do we have the processes? So process start from the registration of the patient when the patient comes in as a walk-in patient or in healthy stage, but in a occupied things, or it's an emergency like COVID-19. What are the outcomes? Outcomes are measurable, and really is very challenging thing that how we really measure our outcomes. Mostly related to infection prevention and control, medication safety, staff safety. Particularly in relation to COVID-19, these three components have been playing a very, very vital role because everybody is talking about infection prevention now. Earlier, not these. Like there were many people worrying, there were hospitals and doctors dealing with those day in, day out, but nobody was worried about so much of contagiousness of the virus like COVID-19 disease. So what is the role of quality and safety? Does it play a role in ensuring better outcomes, better care, ensuring the safety, not only of patients, but as well as of the staff, which is now a new thing coming up? So how India responded in particular? We did fairly well till now. We were able to, manage situation in different states, and kudos to the central government and the state governments. They came together and acted very diligently. Diagnostic lab and imaging services really were very, very supportive. They were meeting some of international requirements. They were accredited, and they intensify efforts to build more testing capacity in last couple of months. Hospitals and other healthcare facilities, several hundred accredited hospitals responded to crisis very well in a very well and structured manner, taking care of the and expected manner. So how quality and safety standard supported healthcare facilities in India? And we expect if similar system exists elsewhere in the world, they would have done the same thing. So healthcare facility has a disaster or emergency response plan to manage emergencies, including pandemics. So they were prepared for it. Well-structured infection prevention and control programs. The healthcare facility is better equipped with PPE, whether it's gloves, protective eyewear, mask, apron, gown, boot, or overall, whatever you talk about, to available at all times. And staff is regularly trained and educated on appropriate use of PPE. So one of the critical aspects which has come out in COVID-19 that several staff even don't know how to donning and doffing of, the PPE. It was a major challenge, and a lot of skill are required just only to handle the PPE. So standards contributed to the hospital's readiness and ability to adapt existing systems to respond to the effect of a pandemic like COVID-19. The ability to identify, evaluate, and manage immediate and potential risks to patients, staffs, and visitors, and overall effective collaboration and cooperation, public awareness, and trust, which they have built over a period of time helps for early and easy response. So the role of standards, the role of quality and safety standards have been proven is very strong component in managing and handling a disease like COVID-19. So what have been the results? Results have been in better response to the crisis of COVID-19, better patient care, better patient safety. And this is for the first time, though the standard we're talking about patient safety as well as the staff safety altogether, but the criticality, the importance, the arena which staff safety have gathered this time in COVID-19 has never been before, because now the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, they are getting infections from the patients. So it's highly contagious, and now everybody is talking about how they make sure it's safe. If staff is not safe, if staff is not having a peace of mind while treating a patient, the staff cannot deliver a good care to the patient. So ultimately, the staff safety leads to the patient safety, and this is now a global agenda, not only the national but international level. WHO has come out with an entire theme on safety of staff. The staff safety makes patient safety better, and 17 September 2020 would be the where this staff safety leading to better patient safety would be talked about. So better community safety. So because it is COVID-19 as a highly contagious coronavirus is highly contagious, we never know how it goes here and there. Smallest leakage in precautions and small lacunae in the chain breaking of contact that leads to infection to different people. So community safety is also very critical. The better efficiency and effectiveness in our system, not only the institutional level, but also level, and ultimately the better outcomes. So healthcare quality and safety structure in India briefly, there have been in last 15 years, a lot of development in healthcare quality and safety in India. We started with accreditation programs with the hospitals, and now in last 15 years, several programs have been developed which talk about quality and safety in different types of healthcare facilities. We talk about IVF, assisted reproductive technology, which is nowadays a lot is required. Every third couple in India it seems to be infertile, and same situation growing globally because of effect and so many other effects which are leading to infertility in couples. Home healthcare is the talk of the town and talk of the day and talk of the individuals now. When we started developing a standard for home healthcare, people were saying, what is this all about? Now you talk about COVID-19 pandemic. Now people, not only people, but the national government and the WHO is international talking about home healthcare. People found to be positive, asymptomatic with mild symptoms are being managed by remotely at homes, home isolation, home quarantine, all these are available. In fact, all those, whether it's orthopedics, neurology, neurosurgery, cardiac, everything has been put on hold in these times. But dialysis was the only clinical service was running up and down because the patients requiring dialysis can't wait. They need to. So the standards for dialysis are very critical. Green healthcare facilities, hospital certification, primary care, ambulatory care, and telehealth. Now telehealth is, in what part of the world was there, but in India it was not legalized. But in the month of March, now it is mainly that people can practice, the doctor can practice telemedicine. So we have come out with a specific program on telehealth accreditation after our Prime Minister, launched on 15th of August, National Digital Health Mission. So this telehealth accreditation program, which is leading to the quality and safety for services which offered through telemedicine or telehealth, would ensure connectivity with a National Digital Health Mission as well as patient safety. So we have a global recognition, and that's why the possibility of collaboration comes between two countries and global recognition of our home care standards, dialysis standards through International Society for Quality in Healthcare External Evaluation Association. So these standards are globally accepted because they meet the international standards requirement of International Society for Quality in Healthcare. We meet the requirements, institutional membership of International Society for Telemedicine and e-health. So telemedicine, telehealth program would be leading in front with global associations. So potential opportunities for collaboration. sorry, one more.
That we're talking about it. What I feel personally is that sharing of best practices in healthcare quality and safety is one of the most critical and important collaboration opportunities between India and Germany. Because now in last 5-6 months, we have seen a lot of repository at WHO, at ISCO, and many other organizations collecting from different experiences from different, for it is Italy, whether it is Spain, whether it is US, or Germany, or India. Several countries are collecting all those information. So I think sharing of the best practices in ensuring quality and safety in time of that would be one of the great opportunity for collaboration. Then quality and safety and dialysis services. We have the standards here. It can be extrapolated in Germany as well. We can collaborate with the government or organizations.
Conclusion. Sorry about that.
And then on home care, and just finishing up, and then in delivering the healthcare services through telehealth. So another opportunity is for collaborating in the research. Now, this is the high time for engaging in research related to COVID-19 and related coronavirus for coming out with this. With this, I finish my presentation, and it's targeted in time. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to listen and talk to me. Thank you very much. Over to you, Bhuvnesh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana, for this excellent presentation showing the importance of quality, which we often take for granted, the role of accreditation and how that helps us to actually improve outcomes and improve patient safety. Next, we will once again try to see whether Dr. Mukhopadhyay's microphone is working. So, Amol,
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So it's working. Okay. I did my presentation. Yes, right. First of all, let me thank you, Bhuvnesh, for a wonderful introduction in the first place. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Madan Lal Raigar, our Consul General in Hamburg, for organizing this conference so relevant, so timely, and giving me an opportunity to talk. I think it's been a wonderful idea to have this virtual conference, bringing the speakers from Germany and India together to find a way forward. Now, coming to my topic, I would say that it was actually considered as an introductory talk, but because of technical problem, I got delayed, and now it come somewhere in the middle. I have chosen to speak on biopharmaceuticals and would like to focus on the strengths of India in this sector and what India could offer to Germany in this sector. Now, the slide that you see, in the next slide, you will see that what a tremendous growth story it has been for the biopharmaceuticals. Looking at the billions of US dollar biologics revenue globally. In 2016, it was 240 billion US dollar. In only 6 years, 2022, we expect it to be $375 billion. So this high speed of growth, how it has happened, which region geographically is responsible for this. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Now, if you see that, India is right in the green. The green area is a high growth area, whereas Europe and Americas, they are the mid growth areas in yellow. And Germany in mid growth areas, but you must remember the Germany starts with a high base. So even that growth is a tremendous growth. So very opportune that the two growing bioeconomy must work together to accelerate further. The next slide. Yeah. Now, if you look at the biopharmaceuticals, we can say we have five major classes: therapeutic proteins, monoclonal antibodies, vaccines, DNA and RNA interference and silencing, and CAR T cells. Now, out of that, the first three I'll focus more because that's where India has got its strength. So if we go to the next slide. Next slide, please. This is a very busy slide. Please ignore if there's so many things written on it. But mainly what I would like to say that the therapeutic proteins are simple insulin to complex glycoproteins. This has been the bane of biopharmaceuticals over the years. And what we have in India, that's the biosimilar production facilities. India is moving really fast ahead in biosimilar potential, and we have now many CMOs who are also, that is the contract manufacturing organization with state-of-the-art facility of fermentation. They are also able to provide facilities which are both EU GMP certified and US FDA approved. Therefore, all these facilities together, India has a tremendous potential to become a biogeneric country. They are already famous in the pharmaceutical generics, where the chemical entities are the APIs, but they have also a strong potential to become the biogenerics country in the world. Moving on to the monoclonal antibodies, I must say that the first commercialization of a therapeutic monoclonal antibody happened in 1986. From that time onwards, the number of approved drugs increased steadily. And in 2016, monoclonal antibodies accounted for 5 of the top 10 selling drugs globally, with a revenues of $46 billion. The therapeutic monoclonal antibody market, no, I'd like to stay on with that. Yeah. With the monoclonal therapeutic antibody market is going to reach in 2020, it will generate a revenue of $125 billion. And it's been suggested from a recent Fierce Pharma report that by 2022, monoclonal antibodies will make up 60% of the top selling cancer drugs. But not only cancer drugs, monoclonal antibodies are also proving to be an effective therapeutic tool to fight COVID-19. You will hear more about that later today from Professor Dr. Stefan Duvel, who is a pioneer in phage display library. I may mention here that a Hamburg headquartered company, Evotec, has just been awarded by US Department of Defense a contract valued up to $18.2 million to develop and manufacture monoclonal antibodies for treatment and or prevention of COVID-19. So we can hope to have effective monoclonal antibodies soon to fight the pandemic. Remember that behind monoclonal antibodies, behind therapeutic proteins, we need strong, good quality fermentation equipment. Next slide, please. I'll go on to the vaccine. Now, because of shortage of time, I will skip this scheme. Everybody, most of you will know how a journey of a vaccine is destined. So it looks very complicated. We move to the next slide. In the next slide, I'm telling you now what kind of vaccine approach has been taken in the world as far as COVID-19 is concerned. We have a live attenuated virus, we have inactivated virus, we have non-replicating viral vector, we have replicating viral vector, recombinant proteins, peptide-based, virus-like particles, DNA, RNA, and unknown. Unknown means why they have not disclosed against what the vaccines are being developed. So it's a myriad of vaccines. Actually, the figure that I have put up here is a bit older. So right now, it's from April 2020. Now, many of the candidates are moved even to the phase 2/phase 3 trials. So we are hoping that there will be something available maybe by the end of the year or maybe in 2021. Now, the frontline German vaccine developers, out of that, the two I must mention, CureVac and BioNTech, both of them are using mRNA basis as their vaccine production. And they have been using mostly the uridine-containing mRNA or nucleoside-modified mRNA or self-amplifying mRNA, and both of them, CureVac and BioNTech, both of them have really proceeded to phase 2 studies now. And in India, we have the frontline Indian vaccine developers, Serum Institute of India, Bharat Biotech, Zydus Cadila. Serum Institute, you will hear again today, later on, from Dr. Suresh Yadav, who is the Executive Director of Serum Institute of India, who will tell everything more in detail. Zydus Cadila has got a DNA-based vaccine, and the Bharat Biotech has Covaxin, which is based on the inactivated dead virus. But I think we will hear all about that in more in detail very soon afterwards from Dr. Yadav. I should say that his name is Dr. Jadhav and not Dr. Yadav. I'm sorry. Slide 8. Next slide. Yes. So if we look at all this, that how India is working in the biopharmaceuticals area, I would say there are certain strengths of India in bioeconomy, which should drive a cooperation between India and Germany. What are the strengths? Adequate number of highly skilled scientists and technicians, high competence in information technologies, which is for the bioinformatics, for computer simulation is absolutely important, high competence in clinical research management, and coupled with well-equipped hospitals. We have the largest number of US FDA-approved manufacturing facilities outside USA. We have excellent translational transfer from lab to industry. Patent protection is guaranteed through TRIP agreement, and a large pool of what I said, that a very large pool of innovative engineering service companies. Now, with that, I have just lost just a second, I have to go back to this. Yeah. Now, go ahead. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next, not back. Forward. Forward, please. Forward. A large pool of contract manufacturing companies with the state-of-the-art technology, and we have got the availability of innovative indigenous engineering and technology service providers. Because I have been talking about whether it's monoclonal antibodies, whether it's the therapeutic engineering, therapeutic bodies, therapeutic proteins, we need the engineering support. We need the fermentation technology support. So this is where I'm introducing a company to you. The company is called BioTree. It's a Bangalore headquartered company. It's a leading bioprocess engineering company with a global presence in over 15 countries. So this is a company which is trying now to get into the German market to provide the Indian technology to the German biotherapeutics companies. Next slide. This is a very comprehensive offer what they are offering. The BioTree offers right from validation to automation solution, design and build and process consultancy. What is one of their USP is that they don't give you a fermentation equipment and tell that you build the building according to my equipment. Now, they say that you build the building and we will design our equipment so that it fits in the building. So this is, I think, is excellent flexibility that's being offered by BioTree. Go ahead, the next slide. This is market segments that BioTree cater to. This is all this information. There's quite a bit of a detailed information. All these slides will be available on the homepage of Elga Biotech later on. So we go to the next slide to save time. I'm sorry because I have to hurry there. Now, they have a strong consultancy service from the designing to bioprocess engineering to the supply of equipment, integrate. So it's actually a comprehensive support that you get from BioTree. Next slide. And again, why us? I have already told you, they have a tremendous flexibility they have, and this flexibility is based on this 360-degree bioprocess engineering solution. They are committed to quality, and they try to maintain strong relationship with the customers with a very, very focused approach. Next slide. Look at their customers who are supporting them. So this is name anybody in the world who has a name in the biotherapeutics. They are shown on this slide. So this is a company which have really served biotherapeutics market very well and hope that they can have success in Germany. The next slide. So I would like to say thank you to all for listening to this. I think I had to go through a very, very express speed, but at the homepage of www.elgabiotech.com, you will have the presentation available in the coming weeks. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Amol, for this really exciting presentation. I mean, you are really the heart and soul of this event, so I'm delighted that it worked out technically also. Thank you for your overview, showing what great opportunities we have in India and that we are really behind no one, that our customers are world-class, and I think that is a very positive message. Actually, I think, Raigar Sahib, you should make him the ambassador, the commercial ambassador for India, yeah? As an, at least in an honorary role. So thank you so much, Amol. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Ashok Ratan, who is an advisor to Pathkind Diagnostics in Gurgaon. Now, Dr. Ratan is really a doyen, a veteran in the field of pathology. I personally got to know him when he was at SRL in Gurgaon. He has held various positions, including chairman of laboratory medicine at Medanta. He was in Fortis Clinical Research. He worked for Pan American Health Organization. With his expertise, I'm really looking forward to his presentation on the genomic approach to laboratory diagnosis of infections in India. Dr. Ratan.
Thanks, sir, and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Today, I thought, let me focus on one achievable. And what is pinching us at the moment is that though we are struggling with COVID infection, it is the tropical fever, the acute undifferentiated fever that is going to be a bugbear. Dry, hot summer is followed by welcome rain. That is the monsoon, but monsoon leads to flooding. And flooding leads to the advent of mosquitoes and other vectors. So children are very prone to malaria, dengue, chikungunya, typhoid, leptospira, and scrub typhus. All of them cause acute onset of fever with no localizing sign. It's been reported that persons traveling back from India normally suffer from malaria, typhoid, or paratyphoid. And it is agreed that malaria is one of the biggest bugbear. So in any algorithm that we have, malaria is the first one that is addressed. Luckily, now we have good diagnostic tests for malaria, so malaria can be easily identified. But non-malarial acute undifferentiated fever normally leads up to severe infection and patient being admitted in ICU. There are various strategies suggested on recognizing it, and the clinicians do a number of tests, normally one at a time. But more often than not, the diagnosis is not established. CMC Vellore had done a study involving 6 states to find out what are the pathogens which are causing fever of short acute duration. They did 2 types of tests. One is at site, at these 6 sites in 6 states, and the other one was a reference level test in Vellore. The red ones are reference level tests which are used for making the diagnosis, and they came to the conclusion that malaria and dengue were the commonest cause of fever, along with scrub typhus, chikungunya, leptospira, and bacteremia. When they analyze, they find that there is not one cause of infection, but 2 infections or even 3 common. With the advent of rapid diagnostic tests being made available, it had been suggested that these rapid tests could be used in 120 different permutation and combination. So a study was done to project that which would be better, to do simultaneously testing for all 6 or to do sequential testing. It appeared that if you use only one test, then it should be for dengue, but it will have a predictive value of 0.31%, 31%. The worst would be, as is happening now, that first they do for typhoid, then they look for malaria, leptospira, and finally for scrub. But that has a chance of picking up the right infection in 34% of cases. While if they look for dengue, scrub, malaria, and leptospira, then they would pick up for 72%. Again, 28% of cases would not be identified. It's well known that there is danger of accepting one single diagnosis. India seems to be host to malaria, dengue, chikungunya, co-infection. India also plays host to malaria and chikungunya. And again, it could be dengue, chikungunya, co-infection. And malaria, dengue is the commonest. So there was a meeting which was organized by the Indian Association of Critical Care Medicine in 2014, in which they suggested that since many clinical syndromes may have overlapping presentation, the what investigation should be guided by local epidemiology and common infections, and we should do syndromic approach. In the syndromic approach that we tried to answer last year was the undifferentiated fever, which is the commonest cause of fever. And we did try to give both offers as traditional system, which is 1-by-1 approach, and the multiplex, where one sample leads to result against the 6.
Imagine a scenario where a person falls ill. They go to the doctor for a diagnosis. The doctor is concerned about the patient's symptoms and overall presentation and decides that further investigation is required. A sample is taken, for example, a blood sample, and a test is ordered from the lab based on what the doctor expects to be the most likely pathogen causing the illness. The test takes place, and the results come back negative. A second test must then be ordered. It also comes back negative. A third test is ordered, and the cycle repeats until a positive result is found. Time ticks by. This repeated testing is bad for the patient, frustrating, wastes time, reagents, and money, and the patient remains untreated as he waits for a diagnosis, possibly getting sicker. Worse yet, the patient could be prescribed unnecessary medication, like antibiotics for a viral illness, before the test results are confirmed.
Now imagine the same scenario. The doctor can order a test from the lab for all probable pathogenic causes, viruses, bacteria, fungi, or parasite, at the same time using one test. This is syndromic real-time PCR multiplexing. Yes, it saves time, resources, reagents, and money. But most importantly, it is better for the patient because it is an effective aid to fast clinical diagnosis, reducing morbidity and the risk of mortality, particularly in cases involving immunocompromised patients. Wouldn't that be better?
There are many multiplex PCR available, but mostly for respiratory tract infection, for sepsis, for SD, for GI illness, for meningitis, encephalitis, or for ophthalmic infections. What we require is tropical fever, or at least for enteric fever. Last year, we had introduced Fever Sure, but that was using case from Fast Track, which was required by Siemens, and this was discontinued. Find as well as MSF have published the target profile of this multiplex PCR, but at this moment, there have been no takers. I would request either somebody addresses itself to tropical fever as multiplex or enteric fever as a point of care, because otherwise our clinicians are still using wider test, which is about 115 years old and nearly useless. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Ratan, for this excellent multimedia and wonderfully didactic, but on the other hand, extremely practical approach to fever of unknown origin in India. And you showed some very nice data, which also helps us to make the path a little easier. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm pleased after Professor Ratan to announce Dr. Suresh Jadhav, who Dr. Mukhopadhyay has already spoken about. He's the Executive Director of the Serum Institute of India in Pune, one of the most renowned organizations developing vaccines worldwide. Dr. Jadhav is an absolute veteran. He has been doing this for 47 years. Basically, if there is anything to know about vaccines, he's the person. He's held positions in the Gavi board. He's a member of the European Vaccine Initiative. He has been involved with the WHO, several Indian universities, etc. He is extremely well-traveled, and he's a very influential person in the area of vaccines. He has also been conferred with the Indian Pharmaceutical Association Lifetime Achievement Award 2015. We are really honored to have you with us, Dr. Jadhav. I request you to tell us about how the Indo-German collaboration in the field of healthcare can go with the example of cost-effective vaccine development and disease elimination efforts. Dr. Jadhav.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Agarwal. I think thanks for inviting me to be part of this meeting. And I also take the opportunity to thank Shri Madan Lal Ji Raigar, the Honorable Consul General, and the Vice Consul General, Shri Gulshan Dhingra, and all other colleagues on the program. To start with, I would like to give a brief introduction on the Serum Institute, because most of you may not be fully aware what the institute is. But it was founded by Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla in 1966, and with a motto that it was our endeavor to make quality vaccines more affordable around the world, because we firmly believe in health should be the right of every child. And this was the vision of Dr. Poonawalla, which has bridged the value of death by providing high quality vaccines at highly affordable price, which has been estimated to save more than 30 million lives so far. We have been distributing our products to more than 170 countries all over the world. And some of our achievements in this journey, since we launched the product in 1967 and till today, that some of these products like Main Afrivac, it has reduced the deaths due to MANE in sub-Saharan Africa. So since the vaccine was introduced in 2010, till today, there is not a single case in a vaccinated population of meningitis A. For measles, we have prevented more than 16 million deaths. And in fact, South America was the first one to announce through the PAHO that the measles have been almost eliminated in that region. Rubella was also eliminated in Pan-American countries. More than 95% of the vaccine which was used for that was supplied by Serum Institute of India. There are other products which have also been responsible for saving the lives. And for the BCG vaccine, today we have almost about 90% of the global supply. We are giving highly affordable vaccines which are critical and which has been recognized by publishing some of the papers. I will not go in too much of details there. we have supplied more than 1.6 billion doses in 2017. We have got 25 vaccines which were developed and manufactured at Serum, which are WHO pre-qualified, which we supply through the UN agencies, mainly through UNICEF and PAHO. And we are also registered these products in 75 countries, including Russia, Brazil, Mexico, South Africa, Ukraine, Malaysia, UAE, and also Switzerland. I want to give a brief review of Indo-German collaboration with Serum Institute, different collaborations. We started in 1999 by our collaboration with Rhein Biotech in Düsseldorf in 1999. That was the hepatitis B project. Today, we are the largest manufacturer of hepatitis B. Then with another company that is Vaccine Project Management, we call it VPM. We have been developing the tuberculosis vaccine, recombinant tuberculosis vaccine for the treatment of bladder cancer and also for the as a replacement for the existing BCG vaccine. We have also used this vaccine as a frontline, I will say, not the treatment or prevention, but for the avoidance of cytokine storm in the COVID patients. And that clinical trials are already on. We are also working with them for development of a cellular pertussis vaccine. There is another company by name Artis Biotech, with whom we are developing our human papilloma virus vaccine and malaria vaccine, with whom we collaborated in 2014. Another company, LTS IIS, where we are developing the hepatitis B patch delivery system. It is a new way of delivering the vaccines. Another company, that is German Cancer Research Center, DKFZ, where we are developing a combination of all kinds of HPV vaccine in one protein. And that collaboration started in 2018. And with Ludwig Maximum University, we are developing the therapeutic hepatitis B vaccine. So I have already told you that we started our collaboration with Rhein Biotech, and SI has been supplying today more than 150 million doses annually for the past 15 years and is the world's largest hepatitis B vaccine manufacturer. And we have got an annual capacity of almost about 300 million doses. The Rhein Biotech technology based upon for the hepatitis B has been instrumental in saving millions of infants and adults across the globe. With VPM, the new recombinant BCG vaccine which is being developed, that is already in various stages of clinical trial, but mostly in the phase 3 now. We have already completed phase 1 and phase 2 for the treatment of bladder cancer. These clinical trials were done in Switzerland, Germany, and Netherlands. We are also working on the treatment of relapse, stopping the relapse of tuberculosis, because in most of the cases after the treatment of tuberculosis by the pharmaceuticals, there is a relapse after about a year. And we have got excellent results in stopping this relapse. And we are also using it as a replacement in the infant vaccine. As I told you, it is also used in some of the risk groups, that is in the elderly and in the health workers for in the COVID era, to stop the cytokine storm and reduce the intensity of the COVID disease. Those clinical trials are also going on in phase 3. And the clinical trials have been carried out in Germany and in Pune for this purpose. These are the clinical trials which were done for the stopping the severity of the COVID in India and Germany. And another site is in Canada, where the clinical trials are already on. For the acellular pertussis vaccine, we are developing it, as you maybe, some of you may be aware that there were more than 42,000 reported cases of pertussis in EU alone. more than the double number in United States. And in the developing world, I don't have to give the numbers, but they are huge. And we are developing it to treat the patients of all the ages. And so that for the infants, it will be the pentavalent or the hexavalent product. For the young ones, it will be Tdap, that is tetanus and diphtheria with a cellular pertussis, which can be given to the adults. It can be also given to the pregnant mothers so that the young ones will be taken care of. And it can also be given to the elderly who can get the pertussis because of the children in the house or in the neighborhood who have the pertussis. Other collaborations, as I already talked about, VPM and SIR is helping the academics for developing their promising vaccine candidates. Serum Institute provides its CMC development capabilities and high quality GMP grade material for early phase clinical trials. This is another collaboration with the German company. With Pan-HPVax technology, we are trying to make a single antigen L2 epitope carrying sequence of 8 different human papilloma viruses, so that one single vaccine will be able, which will be able to take care of not only the human papilloma virus, but also it will be able to take care of the genetic warts. We are also developing therapeutic vaccine for the hepatitis B. So what vaccine is already in use is for the prevention of hepatitis B, whereas this particular vaccine is supposed to be treating the actual hepatitis B infection. And with Artis Biotech, we are developing this patch. We are developing clones for HPV and malaria vaccine program. The Serum Institute, the HPV vaccine is on the verge of completing phase 3 trials in India. The introduction of Serum Institute's quadrivalent HPV vaccine in the developing world is expected to bring down the cervical cancer rate related deaths significantly. And we are also initiating phase 3 trials in Q4 2020 for its malaria R21 vaccine. The recombinant clones have been developed by the Artis Biotech, and both HPV and malaria vaccine would significantly bring down the disease burden in the developing world. Finally, I think this is the patch which we are developing, where there are microneedles which gets dissolved in the transdermal application. These microneedles are long enough to penetrate the outer layer of skin, but too short to irritate the nerves and blood vessels. They use user convenience and less pain. They are stable solid form and no cold chain is required. Minimum serious side effects by decreased dose, and they does not produce medical waste such as syringes. Serum Institute along with IIS has performed animal studies on hepatitis B vaccine patch with very promising results, and phase 1 trials are also been successfully completed. We are now planning to go into the phase 2 and phase 3 trials. And before I say finally thank you, because Professor Mukhopadhyay told me to talk something about the COVID vaccine, today I think Serum Institute has got 3 different candidates. We have got a collaboration with the Oxford along with AstraZeneca, where we have already produced the vaccine in India, and it is already undergoing the phase 2 and 3 clinical trial. And we have got all the necessary permissions from Government of India, and the trials will be starting from the next week, because all the ethical committees permissions and the DSMBs are in place. We have got second candidate, which is based on the hepatitis B technology with the Pisturia parties development. And that candidate is also in phase 1. And another candidate is on the measles platform technology, where we have got a collaboration with the American company Codogenics, and that production is also going on. But that product is at this moment is only in the animal studies, and we will take it up to the logical conclusion. So we will have 3 different products to fight the COVID. And we also have an arrangement now with the Novavax where they want us to manufacture the bulk and also the finished product for supply of whatever product that which they have developed and which is already in phase 3. Once their phase 3s are completed, we will start making that product in Serum Institute. Thank you very much.
Dr. Jadhav, thank you very much for this very exciting presentation. I have to say, being a doctor, I am delighted to hear about the hepatitis B therapeutic vaccine, bladder cancer vaccine, HPV vaccine, and the work that you are doing on COVID. It's absolutely fantastic. On a one-on-one, I will ask you where I can receive my personal dose of the COVID vaccinations, but that'll, if I put it here, I think everybody will be there. So I just want to know how I can get priority.
Right.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one question, if there is one.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the estimated percentage of vaccination success from the phase 2 and 3 data you know from your vaccines you have in the portfolio? We all know it cannot be 100%, and in particular in the older population. So what you expect in respect of the vaccination success rate?
I think the data which is now available from Oxford for the clinical trials which they have conducted in UK and in South Africa and in Brazil, that almost 90% of the people in the program, they respond well with the first dose. And after second dose, after 28 days, almost 100% population shows the generation of antibodies, which are neutralizing type of antibodies. They also have checked that it has got the T cells response. And I'm quite confident that this vaccine will work in elderly, in the sense they have done the clinical trial only in the age group of 18 to 55. Whereas now our clinical trials in India, which are starting next week, we have included the age group which are higher than 55, almost up to 75 years of age. So we will have that data in another about 2 to 3 months time, and I will be able to give you more information on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I know there are other questions, but unfortunately due to time, we have to stop here. Thank you so much, Dr. Jadhav, for a very exciting presentation.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Sandeep Chatwar, who is the Regional CEO and Group Medical Director for the Metro Group of Hospitals in India. Dr. Chatwar is a very renowned business leader in the area of hospitals. Since 1995, he has had leading positions at various hospitals, including Sir Gangaram, Fortis, Wockhardt, Metro, and Apollo hospitals. And he has been awarded the Best CEO twice, as 2019 and 2014 for healthcare. And therefore, we are very eager to hear about your thoughts on the transformation of health system post-COVID. Dr. Chatwar, please.
Very good afternoon and good evening. And at the onset, I'd like to thank Dr. Bhuvnesh Agarwal and Shri Madan Lal Raigar for giving us the opportunity today to be interacting on this very prestigious forum. Transformation of healthcare in post-COVID region is something which is a very, very important and relevant topic for discussion today. Now, healthcare has been catalyzed by disruption caused by coronavirus, and it acts as an impetus and a catalyst for the growth and for the newer avenues in healthcare. We are coming from survival to revival approach now. And as a matter of fact, COVID has made telemedicine something which is revolutionizing the healthcare today. We cannot think of a healthcare scenario without telemedicine. And COVID has realized us and highlighted the importance. Also, virtual consults are something which are so important today. And I think in coming time also, its importance is going to increase more. There is more impetus on infection control and clinical care protocols, because somewhere down the line, the protocolization of the delivery of healthcare, the processes have been highlighted. Like there are fever clinics, there are screening counters, there are isolation floors, and how infection prevention is gaining more and more importance in post-COVID area. And somewhere I feel that healthcare has been recognized as a very core component now, something like national security. So it has gained that sort of importance post-COVID, and in this once in a century sort of a crisis which we are facing. So bold, coordinated teamwork is the main thing on which the healthcare delivery system today works and works effectively. And public health crisis has taught us the importance of public health in a better way. And how can we predict such epidemics? I think artificial intelligence somewhere predicted coronavirus crisis. The importance of artificial intelligence in post-COVID crisis era is going to be even more predicting such epidemics. Also, it has made us realize the importance of planning, and more impetus on EHR, electronic health records, for the infection control and for the various seasons. So that is going to gain more importance in post-COVID scenario. Also, there is going to be more impetus on robotic surgery because of the contactless surgery and the less chances of infection. The realization and the highlight on the robotic surgery is going to increase. And somewhere down the line, I think it has post-COVID era is going to be a lean staffing era because of the economic disruption caused by this virus. The hospitals are suffering a sort of a economic crisis in many regions. So lean staffing patterns are definitely going to be a very important thing on which we are going to work on. So there is definitely going to be more data sharing practices because COVID has taught us that the data sharing is something so important, which helps in analyzing and taking the preventive and corrective strategies, how we can work and fight this and prevent this sort of epidemics in future. Also, we cannot imagine a life like it used to be pre-corona era. The wearing of mask is something so important, and we are now talking of immunity passports if we want to travel to different countries. And somewhere people has got pandemic fatigue because of so much economic disruption. In India, nearly we have observed that 40,000 crores per day lost due to 1 day of lockdown. And so government has given huge economic impetus to the tune of 9 to 10 lakh crores. So the economic disruption cost is definitely going to stay, and the impact is going to be in coming years felt also. We also realized that the outbreak of the virus somewhere from China, and the P4 lab biosafety protocols will become much more stringent, and that is definitely one thing. And remote working, 4 days working pattern somewhere I think will be thing in future, and will have less meetings, more emails. And somewhere you cannot imagine, our phones have become a tool, and Zoom meetings like which we are having, they have been given lot of impetus due to the corona. And artificial intelligence, especially, I want to highlight, is something which is going to be much, much more robotically used, and artificial intelligence will build a stronger healthcare in terms of predicting such epidemics. And today in India, our health penetration of private health insurance is around 30%, in sharp contrast to Germany, where there's almost 100% penetration. So Corona has made us realize the importance of health insurance and how important. We call it as roti, kapda, and makan. Means it's so important to have a health insurance. You cannot have a lifestyle without having a health insurance. So, and the importance of social distancing, the sneezing ethics, wearing of mask, this is going to continue. The corona is not going to go. The magnitude is going to reduce, but definitely I think the lifestyle overall is going to change for long term post COVID era, and somewhere hospitals have to be also the graded opening of lockdowns, and how the herd immunity is building up will open more avenues. More surgical procedures are now beginning to take place, and somewhere I think tele medicine is very important, tele consults is very important, and somewhere tele ICUs will also gain much more importance, which I feel. Digital health has become certainly so important. The digital marketing, the social marketing in COVID, post COVID era is going to get even more important, like it has in COVID era. Now, marketing main backbone is digital marketing. And somewhere we feel that we need to adopt a cautious but not anxious approach. And we need to, the immunity boosters market is somewhere getting more and more, and we are talking more of predictive healthcare, more of wellness. There is more talk of precision medicine, and especially I think that the generations will talk that we fought the war of corona and we won the war of corona. So somewhere I think corona has given us so much to learn, and the contactless surgeries of robotic surgeries, and the somewhere it has made us more wise. And especially I want to add that the public health domain is going to get more strengthened, and the doctors are now like demigods, and they are like real brand ambassadors. And somewhere corona has made everyone realize how important healthcare is. So it's like a national security. So these are my very few thoughts which I wanted to share. And definitely remote working is going to continue in post-COVID era also. And there, the global warning system for predicting such epidemics is definitely going to get strengthened. And public-private partnership is going to go more, is going to get strengthened more. And somewhere universal coverage of health insurance is going to get a lot of strengthening in post-COVID era. And the management of staff, the virtual consults, certainly the importance of PPEs. India is now manufacturing PPEs. Pre-COVID, it was not manufacturing PPEs indigenously. And somewhere we feel that this is the healthcare scenario has been changed tremendously and will continue to grow and will continue, but the impact of COVID is definitely going to be more on clinical protocols, more on infection control, and more on multi-sourcing rather than taking from single suppliers, and mobiles transformed into meeting tools, and CMEs taking place like on Zoom, and this is going to continue. So I again thank you for the opportunity, and it was really great interacting with all of you. I welcome any questions.
Dr. Chandra, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. My takeaway is we had already started some of the trends like telemedicine, the quality that Dr. Rana had mentioned, electronic health records, robotic surgery, artificial intelligence. but all of them will now receive a boost, and thank you for giving a very positive outlook. Since we still have 2 minutes, if there are any questions, we can take them as well. At least one question would be possible.
The next one first.
So it seems that currently there are no questions which would be answerable in 1 minute. In that case, we will come back to the next presentation of Professor Dubel just later. I would like to introduce Ms. Mahua Chatterjee, who is the Managing Director of Azeta Pharma in Frankfurt. She's a born Indian living in Germany for the last 11 years, and she has been an entrepreneur for the last 3 years. She is passionate about bringing together basic science and research with the business sector by bringing people together. And Azeta Pharma is actually a boutique business partnering company which helps her to do that. I'm very pleased to request Ms. Chatterjee to speak about building network bridges and efficient ways to network during the COVID crisis and entrepreneurs' perspective. Ms. Chatterjee, please.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Agarwal. I would just share my screen. Just a minute. But I have not shared it here. Okay. Is it visible now, my screen?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Agarwal, and thank you so much, all of you, for this great webinar going on, and it's very informative. And so because we are a startup, and I would like to just introduce about the company a little bit more, because we are like founded about 2.5 years ago, and we have a distinct and dedicated team from across the world, and we work on multiple types of consulting and services in the pharmaceutical field. Our team has an international experience, like a total of 50 years, and we have an extensive worldwide network in the sector. What we support is B2B business partnering along the pharmaceutical value chain. And so our main work is to connect the dots with our huge network. The services which we provide are, we are providing consulting, business development, API and FDF sourcing, regulatory affairs, product development, talent scouting, quality assurance, and digital transformation. So why do we exist? The development and manufacturing chain, as you know, is very complex and regulated and international, and many stakeholders are involved in this. So with our wide international network and with best experience in project management and business partner selection, we assure that the projects are advancing in a desired direction and without any regulatory surprises. With this, I can recollect a very good experience which we had in one of our first projects last year, where we brought together an Indian, a German, and UK partners, where you can imagine the lot of multicultural challenges we had to solve along the way. Of course, the business potential and motivation of the involved person were very good, and that made us very happy about the value we brought about along the way to catalyze this partnership and to make it happen. So we simplify the connection with a personal bonding and care until the contract is signed. So that is what we have experienced in the past 2 years of our company. So right now, what we were discussing was about the Indo-German collaboration. So right now, what we know that Indian pharma presence in the global pharma industry is really unique. Like the Indian pharmaceutical market has a unique characteristic that it has dominance of branded generics, like 70 to 80% of the retail market, despite the fact that this country is the single largest provider of generic drugs globally. Secondly, the local players have enjoyed a dominant position driven by formulation development capabilities and early investments. Thirdly, price levels are low, driven by intense competition. While India ranks 10th globally in the terms of value, it is third in volumes. These characteristics present their own opportunities and challenges. As we know that Indian pharma has a big supportive role in the global pharma world, and Germany too it is not an exception. Germany too, there are a lot of companies who source generic products from India. So as the supply chain is an important topic during this COVID times and also post-COVID, as Azeeta Pharma, like we would like to work even more with the Indian manufacturers for market access and alternate supply sources across Europe. Another very interesting collaboration which we had just like it was coincidentally happening when the COVID started. It is and the collaboration is with a company called as Inventico Creative. As we were discussing with the past few talks, you know, like we all discussed like about the artificial intelligence and its like how important it can be. So actually this is a company, like they are innovation and technology consulting, and they are trusted partner in digital transformation. Like they are really helping customers from the transformation from business intelligence to artificial intelligence. And as we know that the need of the hour is to have smart IT solutions, especially in the supply chain domain. And this Inventico Creative offers services from transformation of the business intelligence to the artificial intelligence with around 100 plus consultants worldwide. So they have actually they have real experience in this transformation for large to mid-sized pharma and biotech companies. They are custom made, they are mainly business focused and not technology focused, and they have quite business and portfolio oriented and easy to use solutions. So these are the services which Inventico they are providing, and we are going to guide in that way. So they are providing expertise consulting, enterprise solutions to emerging solutions, to enterprise application development tools, to enterprise mobile apps, and to enterprise learning. So what are the benefits the customers would get from the Inventico? There will be increased profits. They have defined standard operating practices. There are the current technology ecosystem which the company have that will not be disrupted. So they just add up or like just do some changes in the client's existing technology ecosystem. And one of the most important thing is their time management. They have the shortest development and deployment time of 45 to 60 days. Their performance and optimization pattern and their solutions are quite easy to use, write usable information or data in real time for easier decision making and forecasting. And there is considerable less investment for maximum ROI, which is really very important. So during this challenging times, actually, another part which is very important is the networking. Like it is it's a big challenge to network like before in the field of business development in the pharmaceutical sector. So we are having another platform that we are offering, and during this, I'm very happy to announce that this year on the 5th and 6th of November, we are organizing a networking and knowledge sharing platform, and the name is Pharma Circuit. And it is an all-in-one live online event platform where there will be eminent speakers, there will be vendor exhibition booths, relentless networking for 2 days, and there will be also a recruitment platform. So what we are offering in this platform is that there will be all-in-one live event where attendees can learn, interact, and connect with the people from all over the world. So we have kept in our mind the different time zones, and so we have kept the time open for 2 days. And our attendees are the CEOs, managers, directors of pharma companies all over the world. And as I already told, that lines will be open for 2 days for networking. And the most important and exciting thing is that the attendees can network one-to-one, break out into group sessions, watch keynote presentations, send chat messages and polls, and explore the Expo interactive areas. And for speakers, if you are interested to be a speaker, then also you have a private virtual backstage for our speakers where we can coordinate. So, and also for the professional recruiters, we will have an ideal platform to enhance the network using our advertisement tools. So the best part of this is that the participants will leave this event with a high number of new quality contacts and business opportunities. And also the very important part is that unlike many conferences, we offer a tool where the delegates can network at their own will and convenience without any time pressure and peer pressure. So this is one of the most important parts of the this conference that I feel is about the networking, and it is quite free and flowing. And the good news is that almost more than 100 delegates have registered already within few weeks of announcement for our November 2020 conference, 5th and 6th. And what we are offering is also quite attractive compared to other conferences, that we have an unbeatable price. The early bird tickets are of 99 euros. We have speaker slots at 149 euros. We have the virtual booths and sponsor slots at a competitive rate of 399 euros. And there are multiple chat modes where you can continuously put your questions or your queries or your suggestions and interact with each other. And there is a global event chat, and there are session chats where each session has its own group chat, like a roundtable conference, and it has its own chat. And thirdly, there are private messages also between users. And finally, there is a backstage chat for coordinating privately with the staff and the speakers. So if you are a speaker, then you get a proper direction if you are stuck somewhere. So this is what we are offering in November and 5th and 6th. And this is, we thought that this is one way where we can use our network, to hold our hands and to connect the dots during this crisis. And yeah, that is what is our plan. And we are planning to not only have it this year, but we will have it again in 2021. We have the dates already fixed. So if you visit our website, pharmacircuit.com, you can find all the details there, and we will be very happy to connect with all of you there again. And yeah, looking forward to see all of you there. And thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chatterjee. It was really a pleasure to hear you, because many of our speakers, including Ms. Mishra, Dr. Mukhopadhyay, Dr. Rana, spoke about the need for cooperation between India and Germany. And you have shown how we can create such a bridge. You are creating such a bridge so that at one day we can look back and say, we can compete with Dr. Jadhav and build a Serum Institute of India-like cooperation. So I think that was very nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So we still have a couple of minutes. If there are any questions, please do feel free to ask. It seems that some of our listeners are a bit shy online.
Yeah, so it is good if they can. I will provide my mail ID, and if whatever questions they have, or if they want to participate as a speaker, or if they want a like a booth in the conference, they can directly contact me. So I will put my mail ID here for next questions, or like for any other like collaborations.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chatterjee, and all the best for your endeavor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Stefan Dübel from the Technical University Institute of Biochemistry, Biotechnology and Bioinformatics in Braunschweig. Professor Dubel is a full professor of biotechnology and director of the respective department at the Technische Universität Braunschweig. He also serves as director of the Technology Transfer Unit, Center for Molecular Engineering, and as a consultant to various biotech and pharma companies in the US and in the EU. He has initiated an antibody factory of the German National Genome Research Network, and he's the author, the editor of 4 volumes of Handbook of Therapeutic Antibodies. He also, so he has done his PhD at the DKFZ, and he has worked for over 3 decades in the areas of phages, including this year showing that ubiquitous polyclonal secondary antibodies can be replaced by animal-free multiclonal antibodies. His works have resulted in over 250 publications and more than 25 patents. Professor Dubel, we are very eager to hear from you about the rapid generation of neutralizing antibodies as a COVID-19 drug by phage display. And at the end of it, please also reveal to me how I can get access to such antibodies. Thank you very much. Professor Dubel. Sorry, we're just having some technical issues. We'll solve it just now.
I can try to present it by sharing my screen, if that would help.
Yes, please. Please do so, Professor Dubel.
So I will try to do that, but then I have to share my screen somehow. I don't know yet how to do that.
So in the middle, you have a green button which says share screen, and if you could kindly use that.
I was told that I cannot share it because... Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stefan Dubel. Is it working? I'm professor at the university. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to present some of our data on COVID-19 antibodies from our previous work here in this exciting webinar on India-German collaboration. So the story of today is how we made completely human antibodies neutralizing SARS-CoV-2 very efficiently in very short time. Just to give you a quick overview of the things we do in my institute, we developed over almost about 30 years technologies to isolate human antibodies without any immunization from universal libraries. We are hosting one of the largest antibody gene collections in the world, and we also have honed our skills in applying phage display to get the correct antibodies out of these very huge libraries, having 5 times 10 to the 10 different genes in the last years. So we also work on all kinds of antibody engineering around the obtained antibodies, improving binding kinetics, size, valency, invent new modes of actions for antibodies, new biochemical functions, and of course improve the antibody molecule in all aspects like affinity, stability, producibility, and so on. So one of the partners here is our spin-off company UMAP, which has specialized on in particular difficult targets. And here are some examples, and I just want to mention
the multi-spanning transmembrane receptors, because these are the most difficult targets to make human antibodies against. And UMAP can show quite a number of success stories here, which has to do with their capability to do screening directly on cells. And if you look on these examples here, ion channels, transmembrane transporters, GPCRs, several of them, you understand that this is really the highest challenge of targets you can have in antibody generation. This existing technology allowed UMAP to generate the first neutralizing antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 in less than 4 weeks. And here is the story behind it. We started also at the university. We're working very close together in a structure called CORAT, Corona Antibody Team. We started with the universal libraries, which of course are the quickest way to go, but we also made quite a number of reconvalescent patient libraries where we took the antibody genes and put them in phage display libraries. These were then panned on complex antigens, which we generated by ourselves as well, to have a conformation that is really very close to the natural S1, S2 spike trimer of SARS-CoV-2. And these antibodies were then characterized by a number of methods, which I show you later. And we indeed got very efficient picomolar neutralizers, which are now going towards the clinical study. So just a few words about the underlying principle to quickly make human antibodies. And this is based on antibody phage display, which we developed many years ago. And we just take the entire gene repertoire of the world, which are 10 billion human antibody genes from different ethnics, from different ages, from different genders all around the globe, and mix these genes and put them into a phage display library. What does that mean? That does mean that the antibody gene, here the red gene symbol, is packaged into a nanoparticle, a virus, which can infect E. coli. And on its surface, this antibody, which is encoded inside of the phage, is presented in a functional form. So you have a particle where the antibody is functional, but carries the information for its making in a kind of backpack. Now you incubate this very huge library of the entire world's population antibody gene repertoire onto an antigen. You incubate it, and the correct antibodies bind. By so, they also bind the gene for their making. Now, when you wash away all the non-binders and you get the correct antibody binding to the antigen. Now, because that's a phage, it can reinfect E. coli very efficiently, so you get a clone. And this clone can be, of course, a complete human antibody, and you can make it to any target. The good thing is you can also completely control the conditions here in that selection step. So you can add all kinds of competitors, change the milieu, and so on. So you can somehow predetermine the properties of these antibodies a little bit. We did that with the spike S1, S2 trimer protein panning, and we immediately got a large collection of CoV2 inhibiting antibodies from the non-immunized libraries, as you've seen here. These are all competition curves of antibodies on different protein variants of the spike protein, including only the RBD, the S1 or the S1-2. And you see some work differently on these fragments, but many of them work perfectly on the trimer, which is of course the form which is closest to the living virus. Then we went on and made inhibition tests on live cells. So now our antibodies have to be able to compete the binding of the spike protein to living cells, and we checked that in FACS, and we found quite a number of well-neutralizing, the colorful ones here, well-neutralizing antibodies in this large screening effort. Most importantly is, however, whether these antibodies are capable of neutralizing real SARS-CoV-2 viruses isolated from patients in regard of their infectivity into cells. And this was done in partnership with the Helmholtz-Zentrum for Infectious Diseases research in their BSL-3 lab, together with Ulfert and Luca. And they tested it in an infection assay over 5 days. And here you see just the first data set we obtained. We made many others. We'll see that later. But you see some of these antibodies are completely inhibiting. And the readout is seen here. So these are healthy cells. They have a smooth layer. And once they are infected, they die and round themselves up. So it's very easy to see whether there's an infection or not. And here is a control antibody which does not block. And here is an antibody, in this case, a UMAP antibody, which completely blocks this infectivity. And on the time scale curve here, you see this blue antibody line over 5 days, no infection at all. Very interesting also that we have antibodies which enhance the infectivity, this red one here, for example. So it's direct proof that there are individual antibodies which can enhance the infectivity of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Of course, we don't use these ones for treatment later. Here are some data of the later candidates, which we optimized in many ways. And you see they have picomolar inhibition with live virus, patient isolates SARS-CoV-2 virus. And so the best of this selection is now already in production towards the clinical study. We also analyzed the epitopes, which were neutralizing. And here is a data set from our universal library, which is already published. The greens are the epitopes, and here is the spike protein. So you see we target quite different epitopes. Here is the original receptor. So you would assume that epitopes here would work well, but astonishingly also on the back of the ACE2, there is some binding which can be inhibitory, which is very interesting in respect of the biology of infection. And this is work done together with the ATTAC consortium and modeling by Luca Barani. Also, when you just model it on the intact spike protein, you see the action is can be simplified by these antibodies just sitting in the way of contact. They are just sitting on top of the spike protein, so it's very easy to imagine how they just are in the way when the virus approaches the cell surface. So the virus just cannot reach the cell surface and cannot reach its receptors. A very straightforward way of activity, it seems. Just a quick note, we use this huge repertoire of antibodies as well to look for diagnostic antibodies. And here is an example in cooperation with another spin-off company, Apcalis, in our house, that identified antibodies which are highly specific for SARS-CoV-2. They are not binding SARS-CoV-1 here. They are not cross-reacting with MERS or with all the other usual human coronaviruses. So we also working on a rapid test, which is based on direct protein recognition, because this test would be much quicker than the PCR tests, or of course, much more close to the real infection than a retrospective serum analysis. With that, it's time for me to thank all the people who have done this lots of work, and they worked over the weekends and over the holidays, and I'm really grateful to my absolutely gorgeous team and our collaborators. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you want to have more information, you can find it here under these addresses, or just write me an email, or of course, ask a question now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Dubel, for this very interesting and exciting presentation. I have to say, I always thought antibody production was extremely complex, but you make it sound almost like child's play. So thank you very much. And also the three-dimensional pictures seem to be so easy that even I seem to understand it. So we have time for one question. Raise their hand. So it seems it is not the case. Professor Dubel, you kindly provided your, sorry, there is a question? Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Professor Dubel, thank you very much for again an excellent presentation. This is Amal Mukhopadhyay from Hamburg. My question to you would be that you had one antibody which was causing stimulation in the infection. That I think pink colored curve you showed. It was helping in the infection. Is that antibody also can be used for your ELISA?
We have not especially looked into that antibody because it's exactly the other way of what we want to achieve. But in a scientific way, we are just starting to analyzing these antibody at the moment. So we hope to get more knowledge about where it binds, which is of course necessary to understand its biological role. But we don't have these data yet because these experiments were pushed to the back because at first we had to clarify which would help the people to survive COVID-19.
Yeah, no, but for the ELISA, it could be very effective because it looks like it's a pretty specific and quite highly high affinity.
Well, most of these antibodies have very high affinity. So we have lots of, we made more than 750 antibodies against the spike protein, and we are still in the process of screening them for diagnostic use, but we already isolated a number of diagnostic antibodies which are now used by our spin-off company Apcalis for developing these kind of direct tests, which would be much quicker and on the spot if we could reach the sensitivity. Of course, your question is absolutely right. We need the utmost affinity there. But I cannot, unfortunately, present any results on that. It is ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dubel, for this clear answer. And with that, I would like to, unfortunately, for time reasons, go on to the next presentation. Regrettably, Dr. Velu was unable to make it, but I'm delighted to inform you that Mr. Samir Saral will be standing in for him. He's the COO of Lab Systems Diagnostics OY in Finland, where which is a part of Trivitron. He has been working with Trivitron for over 30 years, over 20 years. His background is in instrumentation technology. He worked with Siba Corning briefly before joining Trivitron. In the last 5+ years, he's been in Finland. He's the CEO of the European firm, which actually makes laboratory diagnostics, point of care, and home tests. Trivitron, by the way, is a company which is present in over 180 countries, has more than 1,200 partners, 1,500 employees. So really quite an interesting company to get to know. Mr. Saral will be speaking about Indo-German collaboration in the medical devices segment, post-COVID opportunities. Mr. Saral, please. Mr. Saral, we cannot yet hear you. Okay. I think we are having some technical issue, so we will pass on to the next presentation by Dr. Anand K. Tripathi, who is the consultant at the National Heart Institute in New Delhi. Dr. Tripathi is a cardiologist, and he has worked at the National Heart Institute, has worked with the WHO, and he has been heavily involved in topics around diabetes and the use of stevia to reduce the number of pre-diabetic young population in India and abroad. Dr. Tripathi will be speaking about the future and importance of telemedicine and other advanced healthcare systems in India during and after the corona pandemic, and with that, add detail to topic that Mr. Chatrat was also speaking about. So, Dr. Tripathi, over to you. Thank you. Dr. Tripathi, I think it's your microphone is muted. If you could kindly turn that on. Otherwise, let me see if I can do it. Yeah, now it should work. Please, again, if you could try to unmute it again, please.
Hello.
Yes, yeah. Now it's working. It's again muted, sorry. Dr. Tripathi, it's still muted. Could you kindly once again unmute it? Now, yes, now it should be okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, Dr. Bhunesh Agrawal sahab. And I definitely would like to tell about more that telemedicine, but of course, lack of time and just at 10-15 minutes, not able to just explain each and everything. And just I came from the hospital with the COVID duties. So lots of responsibilities now I'm taking care. First of all, I just would like to give my heartiest regards to highly Excellency Consul General of India in Hamburg, Sri Madan Lal Regar Sahab, and Vice Consul Sri Gulshan Dhingra Sahab. Also like a brother, Dr. Rajesh Mishra ji, Sajia, and other my very, very talented speakers. It's really great pleasure to just first time has the opportunity to just give some my views, like in metropolitan cities like Delhi, and the same time in the rural areas in Uttar Pradesh, like district Pratapgarh, Barabanki, Sultanpur, those remote areas during COVID-19, which it is the biggest challenge for the definitely for our health system. And that's why I decided to just give something. And of course, there are several research is just going on. The future and importance of telemedicine and other advanced healthcare system in India during and after Corona-19. Actually, just if we'll just go to our health system in India, it is not well accepted or well just defined. Of course, there are a lot of expenses going on every year. The lot of budgets are coming, but ground reality is after COVID-19 just showed to everyone that we are lacking in a big way. Like we have a primary healthcare system that is in private sector, which is divided, public partnership model is there, and government sector, where remote in areas, rural healthcare system is there, CSC, PHC, town healthcare system, district hospital care system, regional healthcare, and then state and capital healthcare system. And secondary healthcare system, where again it is divided into private and public partnership and government hospitals, that is secondary care hospitals like regional and state level. And of course, tertiary care hospitals again is a private sector, public partnership hospital and like medical colleges and a big institution. Why I'm just defining this in front of all our very genius and talented speakers, and of course, including our Counsel General, that telemedicine, which I'm just going to talk about, is really, we need to work from the rural areas to the, if we want to really help to our society to improve our health system, definitely not only just to see the values of telemedicine in the metropolitan cities or maybe some big cities in a big state of like a capital, we need to just find out that how we just going to our Prime Minister is saying that we need to go to our last person of the society who's just lacking. Either it is education or it is health or it is related with some their basic needs. So during these COVID-19 duties in the district hospital, in the Pratapgarh, in Barabanki district, day and night we are trying to manage. But really because of the lacking somewhere in the health system, we are not able to just fulfill those duties honestly. It's very true. And secondly, when I'm just coming to the Delhi in working in our National Heart Institute, again, we are facing the same challenges. Patients are coming in the in surgery hospitals, like in a cardiac surgery department, in the intensive cardiac care unit. Patient is coming with the COVID, and again the whole system is going to be collapsed. So that's why just I decided, and I'm now working in that like a model for to how that our telemedicine system and other advanced system will able to help me and to our society to provide to each and every level good services. Respected sir, would like to just mention a few things which is very, very important during my visits in the district hospitals, that there is like a patient is coming from the rural areas without any complaint or coming with the complaints, but they don't have like any previous complaints regarding any sort of infectious diseases, and all of a sudden they are coming in the intensive units, and after one test, when we are just repeatedly making second test, we are getting that the patient is suffering with the COVID, and the whole area infection, that department is infected because of that patient, which came directly to the intensive care unit. So why it is so? Because we are not developed our system so nicely. So we need to focus. That's why it is a very great opportunity for me to give my voice to the a very developed country like Germany, that telemedicine today is a big demand for India. We are ready to collaborate, starting with the rural areas to the primary healthcare system to district hospitals. And as you know that even our UP is having a population of 23.7 billion, which is equivalent approximate United States. So one state can have such a great opportunity where the telemedicine and advanced system of medicine, that health system can be developed. Likewise, other states where I'm just visiting frequently, like some northeast areas, Bihar. So again, the same situation. Every day I'm just conversing that in the northeast districts, especially with the health minister and health minister of Bihar also, and getting the same response that it's very true that our health system is not well developed. So we need to work on that. And that's why, with the help of our Vice CEO of the National Heart Institute, Dr. Vinod Sharma, and our team is working on that now, very good project, so-called telemedicine, and a very advanced system of health system for India. Anybody is like willing to just cooperate to make a collaboration with us. We are ready to go to at any extent in the research to just make any sort of research. We are just doing a lot of things like collecting the materials from the different states, especially from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And that one thing which again I would like to share with all our very talented our speakers, that the National Emergency Telecritical Care Network for India is a very important. And in that context, I just met with a few days back with our some joint secretaries of health and also some officers in the Ministry of Health of Uttar Pradesh as well as in Delhi, that how just we can go for that. So of course there are, and also I visited a few embassies even. Beside that, there are so many now that, as you know, that in Delhi the same number of cases every day just increasing, and in Uttar Pradesh the number of cases are increasing. But actually it is not so in my view, because now number of tests is just increasing every day. Now just in UP more than 1 lakh tests is we are just doing every day, and our CM just decided to make it 1.5 in every day. So that's why the number of figures are increasing. But actually the real story is that because of a lot of huge migration took place from the metropolitan cities to basically Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and Bihar. And that's why the number of cases definitely increases in these respective states. Few things which also would also like to just share with you. That is a very important for our India. That now we are just decided to make a with our institution and with some other organization, international organization, that in the future.
Sorry, one more minute, please. So if you could kindly come to a conclusion. Thank you, sir.
Sir, and that we would just like to make a our collaboration in the especially to develop the system, especially starting with the rural areas and districts, state, and then the medical college of any state, or maybe medical colleges of AIIMS like institution in India. So already we are working in that. Of course, I have more than 20 slides which already I prepared, because of just I just left my laptop in the car because of heavy rain. So I was not able to show those slides in front of you. But definitely, if anybody will interested to just join, like to get some information regarding that area of telemedicine where we are just working with our rural some hospitals, districts levels and the state level, we definitely be welcome to share with them and collaborate with them. Thank you to all of my friends and very talented speakers, and my heartiest best regards to our Council General Sri Regar Saab. So once more, thank you, Dr. Agrawal, for giving me opportunity to just give few words about the telemedicine, how it is important for India.
Tripathi, thank you so much for this very interesting presentation on your vision, which, for example, also Dr. Chatrat mentioned about telemedicine and how this can be practiced not only in advanced situations, but especially in the rural areas with the examples that you have given. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I understand that Mr. Saral is now online. So, Mr. Saral, I have briefly already introduced you. So if you could kindly speak about the Indo-German collaboration in medical device segment, post-COVID opportunities, I would be very grateful. Mr. Saral, please. It seems that we are having some technical issues. So what we will do is we will go on to the next presentation. And if it works out, we will take that as the last presentation. So I'm delighted to, as our next speaker, to present Mr. Vikram Rajput, who is the CEO of Subhag Health Tech in Bangalore. He's actually a serial entrepreneur, and he's on a mission to bring leadership in each of us by giving the opportunity to many potential entrepreneurs. He actually has been awarded, has been voted to be one of the top 100 social impact making projects in the world. He has two main businesses. One is Subhag Health Tech, by which he's targeting social development goal number 3, good health and well-being, including the first intrauterine insemination and the first copper mask for COVID-19, but also a company called L.Tech Solution, where he's targeting SDGs number 7, affordable and clean energy, and 13, climate action. I'm pleased to also mention that one of our previous speakers, Dr. B.K. Rana, is an advisor to this company as well. So with that, Mr. Rajput, I'd like to hand over to you so that you can speak to us about the mindset and the opportunity engineering the medical science. Mr. Rajput.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agrawal. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of all the veterans in the healthcare industry. I am Vikram Rajput. I am a founder and CEO of Subhag Health Tech. We are disrupting the IVF market by introducing the world's first home IUI kit. The topic for today's presentation is a little different than the infertility. And I am a more person of a question and not a person with the answers, let's say. So I am here to bring some orthogonal thought. And after my presentation, I would request you all to have those discussions later on. I am not a doctor, I am not a biotech scientist, and I am also not a researcher. I am a pure mechanical engineer. And the question what I want to ask here today is very fundamental questions. So let's take one example in the first question, what is the leading cause of the death? This is the data from the USA. The leading cause of the number 3, it is a cancer. And the second number is a cardiovascular disease. And the number 1 is a iatrogenic illness. Iatrogenic illness is kind of a side effect of the treatment, let's say. And if you see that why so many people are dying because of error in the medicines. So that's the question what I want to ask. And I want to keep the healthcare industry because I come from the different industry. I have been designing automotive cars. I have been designing the aircraft. I have been designing the wind turbine. And when I see the healthcare industry, and I would like to put that into the contrast with the aviation industry. And if we see the data from 2006 to 2019 on those period, and aviation industry is also a high risk industry, how many fatalities had happened on those time? So if you just see the 2017 data, it is only a 59 crashes, and in 2019, 287 crashes. So if you compare those two data where healthcare industry have so many errors, And in the other industry, in the aviation industry, the error is not that high. Why? That is the question. Why so many errors in the healthcare industry, and why it is not in the aviation industry? So when I look into the details and deep dive that why it is happening, so the very first question is, are we not having the skilled people in the healthcare industry? The answer is no, right? We do have skilled people in healthcare industry. Is it about the training? Is it about the technology? It is not about those things. It is just about the mindset. The mindset, the way the healthcare industry operates is 180-degree away from any other industry, because that's my finding. I have been working in a different industry for 15 years. So let's say this industry, the first question is autonomy versus the system, right? If I put the aviation, and if I say that you are a pilot and you are driving, you are flying the flight, right? The first thing what you do is like, it's a black box thinking, where the last minute record of any conversation what pilot take with the control room is also recorded, right? If flight is about to get crashed, everything, all the errors are recorded. But in the healthcare industry, it is very surprising and sad as well that all the clinical trials what had been conducted, if the outcome of the trials are negative, they don't get published. And all the surgery or operation, whatever happens in the operation theater, if the outcome is negative, no one is coming and saying, that that was something the coins when it comes head, right? Then all data is not available. The second is that in the aviation industry, you have a checklist. If the flight is about to get crashed, the very first question dashboard would ask you in the checklist is keep flying. Unless until pilot acknowledge that, yes, I acknowledge, I will be keep flying, it is the checklist will not move further. It sounds very trivial, but having the checklist makes a huge difference. And that was the fundamental experiment also done by WHO in 2018, where they implemented the checklist in the operation theater with the 8 hospitals. And what they found is that the death rate has decreased by 47%, which is more than any medicines can do. So having the checklist is there, right? The checklist is there, but the mindset, right? The mindset is not there. So how do we implement those checklists, and how do we make sure that everyone is following is the challenge. That brings me to the second question. And the second question is that, are we state of art? Our science, what we are using in the medical industry, is it state of art? The very surprising fact what I see here is everyone here can think only under the regulatory circle. If you think under the regulatory circle, how are you going to innovate something? In other industry, the innovation comes first and regulatory adopts. But here, if I just go and propose something in the into the market and I say, okay, this is what I have. And the first question people will ask me, is it allowed in Europe or is it allowed by CDSCO? And that's how the idea get killed. All the ideas, innovative ideas, are getting killed by the regulatory, which is not generally a case in other industry. So let's say, going back to some philosophical time in the Greek time, when we had Democritus and we had Socrates, right? And the question these two guys were asking, that who controls the life and who controls the human, right? And human is made of 30 trillion cells. So Democritus said that everything is made of atoms, and there are only atoms and space. And since atom has the mass and there are distance, so atom strikes with each other like a billiard balls, and when they hit each other, that's how the life is created. And that was the beginning of the mathematics. And then Newton, he took it from Democritus, and he said, okay, if I know the mass, I can define the motion of a planet, and then I can know everything. And then the Newtonian physics was born. And when Newtonian physics were born, the three law of motion was given, and that's how the science has born. Now, medical science has adopted the Newtonian physics very well, and they started saying that the body is also a machine, and body is made of different cells, and the cells has mass, and we can do all kind of mathematical equation derivation with this, and all the medicine follows the Newtonian physics. So that is the one where the Socrates said that everything is energy and everything is invisible. That became the religion in the end. So, but now when you see that the science stands on pyramid, right? The baseline, the foundation is mathematics. And then at the top of that sits the physics, which is Newtonian physics. And then on top of that, the chemistry, and then biology, and then the psychology. So Newtonian physics has changed in the 17th to 18th century, which is now the quantum physics, right? And the quantum physics says everything is energy, and it's a waveform. It's not it defines that you cannot locate the electron proton in a one place. It's the waveform. There should be a probability and on and on. So, but the quantum physics was adopted in other industry very well. That's how you and me, we are talking via the satellite in Zoom. But the chemistry where the medicines are based, it's not been changed. So that's another question what I would like to raise, that when the chemistry and then the biology would adopt the state of art science. And then the number 3 question is that most expensive devices are not necessarily the best solution. And this is our own story in Subhag Health Tech. When we started inventing the world's first home IUI kit, and then we had the question, we had the very basic question, right? I am here in Germany, and we wanted to do the whole R&D, and we wanted to do the prototyping, we wanted to do the clinical trial and everything. And when you just
we have 1 more minute, so if you could kindly
okay,
come to conclusion.
I'll go fast. Okay, so when you do the so the cost is too high. The cost is too high. If you do the cost of developing something in Germany is 2 million, versus if you do something in India is only let's say 100K. This is what we invested so far, and we brought the home IUI kit. So the proposal from our side, from Subhag Health Tech side, is that we have proved that any new research and R&D can be done in the most cost-effective way, so that the cost to the consumer is very low. And that's what all the R&D from the Germany, they can have the partnership with the Indian company, especially with the startups, where the cost can be reduced. We used a lot of freewares. We used virtual team, and we reduced the cost, and that's how the healthcare cost has been reduced. This is just some pictures. How did we brought the world's first home IUI kit with a small office, and this is how our device looks like. And we are very happy that we did this research from 2018, and we came to the market and selling the device just in 2 years with a very cost-effective way. With that, I would like to give thanks, and something good is about to happen. This is what I believe. So thank you very much. I'm open for
Thank
any
you very
questions.
much, Mr. Rajput, for sharing with us how you have come to this idea. And I found very interesting that you were referring to the IOM report, I think, to Air is Human, and also referring to SOPs, etc., which Mr. Rana also talked about. So thank you so much for this. I realize now that Mr. Saral is now available. So Mr. Saral, if you could kindly come to your presentation, which is the Indo-German collaboration and medical devices segment post-COVID opportunity. Thank you so much. Mr. Saral, we are unable to hear you yet. Mr. Saral, we are unable to hear you. If you could kindly turn on your microphone. Thank you. Mr. Saral, we are unable to hear you. Could you kindly turn on your microphone? Yes, we can now hear you, and I can see that you have unmuted. So if you could kindly speak. I'm afraid that we are having some technical problems. So, Mr. Saral, can you once again speak, because we are not able to hear you, even though we see that your microphone is on. I'm very sorry. So, Mr. Saral, I'm sorry. I think we are having some technical problems. I want to really thank you, and if you could, I think the only way we can now proceed is that if somebody is interested in your presentation, they should send an email to PSB, and we will try to connect them with you so that you can send the presentation to them. I'm very sorry for the technical issue that we are experiencing. Thank you very much, Mr. Saral. Before we conclude, our Consul General, Mr. Reiger, would like to make a brief announcement about another event that is to take place later this year. Mr. Reiger, please.
ऐसे चला दीजिए सिर्फ सीधी कर।
Okay, once again, good. Can you just switch on? Sorry for that. Sorry for the technical glitch. We could not take the presentation of Mr. Saral. I'm again here. I once again would like to thank all the presenters, keynote speakers, and our viewers who have been with us through this event. And I have a small announcement to make that on 18th of November 2020, Wednesday, we'll be having a webinar from here itself, from our consulate premises, and it will be our partner for this business event will be Zinco and FICCI FICCI. And the timing for this web event will be 10 a.m. to 1300. So it's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it will be in our consulate premises. So right now we have Zinco and FICCI as our co-partner for this business event. The more detail will follow. And we have some presentation for this. Okay, so please note this in your diary so that you can join it later. More detail to follow on our website, on our Facebook page, on our other social media pages. And in between, we might have some more events. So please keep browsing. Yeah. So keep browsing for the announcements and new events which we will have at the consulate. And thank you very much for all of you joining today. And I think I'll give the platform to our able presenter who moderated the event so well, Dr. Bhuvnesh Agrawal. And I'll also, we have our my vice consul. He will have a few words with you also before the concluding the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raigar. I really appreciate your kind words, and I want to thank all of the speakers for their discipline. And I have to say this has been a tremendous afternoon for me, having the privilege of moderating this session. Thank you all very, very much. For the closing, I would like to kindly, kindly request Mr. Gulshan Dhingra, the Vice Consul of the CGI of Consulate General of India here in Hamburg, to say a vote of thanks. Mr. Dhingra, please.
Hello, good evening, Guten Abend, and Namaste. Respected Consul General, sir, dear speakers and participants, it's indeed my pleasure to present the vote of thanks on the occasion of India-Germany collaboration in the healthcare sector. On behalf of the Consul General of India, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to all the speakers, and I think it would be unfair if I don't take the names individually. So the list goes: Ms. Pallavi Mishra, Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay, Dr. Suresh Yadav, Professor Dr. Ashok Ratan, Professor Dr. Stephen Dubel, Mr. Sameer Saral. I think he couldn't make it because of technical glitch, but not to worry, there's always next time. And the next in series is Dr. Bhupendra Kumar Rana, Dr. Sandeep Chatrat, Dr. Shazia Bulbul, Dr. Rajesh Mishra, Dr. Anant Tripathi, Dr. Alexander Nuke, Ms. Mahua Chatterjee, and Mr. Vikram Rajput. Our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Rajesh Mishra for taking initiative of the event, and he has always been in the forefront whenever we require any cooperation from diaspora members. Further, Dr. Amal Mukhopadhyay's name also needs special mention for we would not have been positioned to organize this event on healthcare sector, which requires a technical know-how, and Dr. Mukhopadhyay is a credible authority in the healthcare field. Not to forget Ms. Pallavi Mishra from FICCI, who has been extending all possible help on finalizing speakers and logistics, and she has been constant touch with the consulate. We also extend our thanks to Dr. Shazia and Hochschule Bremen for continuous collaboration with the consulate. Our special thanks to Dr. Bhuvnesh Agarwal, who moderated the event flawlessly while keeping all the speakers and audience connected with each other. Though there had been few technical glitches, but the event had a smooth sailing. So our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Agarwal. And last but not the least, a big thank to all my colleagues for being so helpful and so wonderful during all these special occasions, particularly Mr. Pamela, who has been providing all the technical support for all these online events single-handedly. And similarly, I would extend my thankfulness to Mr. Vijay and Ms. Seema, who gave their best shot in conducting this event smoothly. And before we disconnect, let me remind you that I think our CT has also mentioned it, that the consulate will be organizing India-Germany Business Summit on 18th November 2020 at the consulate premises. And let me tell you that it would be a hybrid kind of event where you can participate either physically or virtually. However, social distancing protocols will be followed during physical gathering. And for the rest of the details, I would suggest you to please log into our website. And with this, we wind up and hope to catch you all very soon in November. And thank you all very much. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, thank you so much, Mr. Dino, for your kind words. Once again, also from my side, thank you so much to all of the organizers of this event for all of the work that they have done behind the scenes. We wish you all a nice afternoon, nice evening, stay safe, and look at the positives, because every threat, every change is associated with positive opportunities. And what we have learned this afternoon is the possibilities are absolutely immense. There are many people out there who wish to help us, including the Consul General of India and other institutions, and we should make use of the opportunities that even such difficult times provide. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.